Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cerberus at the Improv. I'm Payman Ascari. I'm joined today by Mr. Timothy Knight. Welcome, Tim.
Good afternoon. Another beautiful day in the valley.
Yeah, is it? Is the weather beautiful there? It's pretty cold up here in Whistler.
It's like +4 here down here in Chilliwack. There's no snow. Yeah.
Climate change.
Yay, climate change.
I'm also joining us today is Mr. Andre Meloche. Andre, welcome.
Hi. How are you? I'm fine. And climate change in Quebec. We had 60 centimeters of snow yesterday in 12 hours. And today it is sunny, but we're expecting another 30 tomorrow.
Hit us with, give us an update on your cat. What's the cat situation?
No, the cat is still stuck in the snow. He's cleaning. No, we're cleaning. The king. You have to clean the road for the king.
The king's coming? What?
The king is the cat.
My cat.
Oh, the cat. Sorry.
You know, his name is Marquis. Marquis, because I call him because he kills squirrels. So I call him Marquis de Sade. But somebody suggested me, so you should have called him Meow de Sade. Anyway, maybe it's too intellectuals.
The jokes are very vague today.
Yeah.
We could just cancel the episode. I think whatever audience there was, it just left.
I still have snow to shovel, but no, we can go on.
Then to cancel the show, I have to go shovel snow. Yeah.
But it's climate change, like you said.
Yeah, climate change. Yeah.
We this show, how many? I don't know how many episodes we've done. Like 10. It's rapidly.
No, we're close to 20 now.
Seriously?
Yeah, we've been at it since mid-September.
Wow.
You sure?
I know. See, after a while, purgatory just loses time.
This is what happens when you don't get paid for your work.
You don't get paid for your work.
You don't appreciate it.
Well, we are paid. We're paid in likes.
With what, 7?
Do we have likes?
Can I buy drinks at the bar with likes?
We're paid with follows. We've got like 7 followers on Rumble.
We should be paid in crypto.
Andre simulcasted on his. I decided to wake up. Oh, I know who that is. I'm so bad.
Oh, David, that's a little too negative.
David invited me to a podcast and I slept in. I feel so terrible. So I'm publicly apologizing on the internet for my terrible behavior. I apologize.
Which is natural.
I'm a bad human being.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. I admitted I'm a bad human being.
The only good guy is the one in the middle.
Who's that?
Let's not get excited here.
No, you know the concept of the Mexican standoff,
right?
Or the third man in a hockey game. In a hockey game, the third man is
in the hockey game. The third man, but he's center.
Penalty boxes, and he's always yes.
Which I guess if this is the good, the bad, and the ugly, who's the ugly?
This
Who wants to be the ugly guy?
We should
you need a hat or
we should make freedom conversation make that decision for us. Here, flip a coin out of 3. Which one's good and bad and ugly?
We'll just wait.
Here we are waiting for a commentator.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get started because there was every week there's a lot of news, but this week it was just out of control.
Bonkers.
Thank God the House is prorogued. It would have been even worse.
Yes, thank goodness the House is prorogued, right? Can you imagine if they were actually able to make legislation?
They make a bad situation worse. Okay, I should start doing my job. So we've curated a whole bunch of news items, but we're gonna blast through this. So
Cayman curated. The rest of us prefer to fly by the seat of our pants, but Cayman said, no. We want to get paid eventually, so let's do this the right way.
No, that's not true. This is a group effort.
We're starting to sound like the CBC,
right?
That's not good. That's not good news.
We're not that evil.
The Columbia Broadcasting Company.
So the first thing I wanted to highlight is sort of a discussion topic for the three of us to go over, but this concept of state media. So this is the infamous one during COVID. Like this is just the level of propaganda. And then when Trudeau was on the way down, even before his intention to resign speech, the media started doing its job. It was more objective. This was the infamous one where they went after Singh for supporting the Liberals, even though he's trash talking them. And now they're back to their previous role of just pushing state propaganda, like this whole Mark Carney resurgence in the polls. And we've also had Cian Bexley join partners with True North. So now we got this Juno News, which I think is going to be the new state-sponsored media. And I'm kind of wondering if Harrison Faulkner is the only, the last good person left in journalism.
Isn't True North, that's Lawton, isn't it? Andrew Lawton?
I believe so.
Andrew
Yes.
Lawton, yes.
Andrew Lawton, isn't he currently a candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada?
Yes.
So that doesn't smell at all. Everybody get your scratch and sniff stickers out.
No, but it's a natural relationship. We should not be offended by that.
Right, right.
The contrary would be more surprising.
Yeah.
Because all those alternative media will one day become mainstream.
We talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we've watched
except us, of course.
Well, it's because we just started. we haven't been corrupted yet because we're still doing it for free, right? Lawton likely does smell. So these upstart alternative media groups that more or less got their legs under them during COVID mandates, and then especially got a big boost during the convoy events, and then that got them into the quote-unquote mainstream of the right side of the media. So they become a more or less reliable source of media during that period. But having come out of the suspended mandates, moving into that period, they now need something to talk about and something to complain about. So they become more and more focused on the red and the orange, and they become more and more friendly to blue because they fall into the trap of believing that Big Blue is going to save us.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they become captured. In my opinion, those media outlets have become captured media. So the bigwigs in those circles are likely to find themselves in a rebranded CBC when the Conservatives come to power.
Does that mean that they will be less neutral? Because the fact that we see them, they're starting to be more popular, and
Well,
they have
not neutral now.
Okay. You answer my question. They're not neutral now. They're biased.
They're pro-conservative party.
But isn't a media or journalism, isn't it supposed to be neutral?
Yes.
In theory?
Yes. It's the Walter Cronkite philosophy.
Does it still exist?
Right?
No.
No, he died a long
not.
time ago. But yeah, so the idea of finding a journalist who really respects the ideology of journalism. I just want to tell what happened.
You tell a story.
Right? And avoid the adjectives and avoid the adverbs, right? Because that's the personal inflection. That's where the bias is transmitted, and just tell the news. And that appears to be gone. I mean, even we, but we don't pretend to be journalists, right? We are pundits, we are commentators, we are color commentators, and we do that on purpose. Because to us, the entire thing is clown world, so we might as well have some fun with the clowns.
Well, what you're mentioning is news, or I would say the noble heart of journalism has turned into entertainment.
Yes.
So that's why you need the adjective and the adverb.
The adjectives and the adverbs are the info in the entertainment in the info. So infotainment is the new industry.
Or the threat, because if you go back to the Toronto Star
right.
first page, let them die. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, and
that's a phrase you can have in an article. A very neutral journalism.
That wasn't commentary. That was a condemnation.
Yes, but they were all like that. They were all like that.
Yeah.
It was frightening.
I read that headline, and I think, were we there? Was it really that bad? And the answer is, yeah, it was.
When you look at this, if an unvaccinated person catches it from somebody who is vaccinated, how did they know?
Yes. Yes.
because they were tracking us.
Yes.
How they can prove that you you
Well,
contaminate?
this
How they
is
could-
red bandana territory, right? This is red armband territory. where
This one
people-
was a little bit more extreme, but
It
but
is.
what Andre is describing is journalists are supposed to be investigators, sort of
Mhm.
like a
Yes,
detective, you know,
yes, that's what I
crime has been
implied.
committed.
Yeah.
You don't go in there and say, I don't like women, so let's see how can I make it so a woman did this crime.
Yeah.
No, if you figure out where the bullet got lodged, where it was fired from, who's
That's
got
right.
gunpowder on their
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
But
It's so investigative journalism has corrupted into tabloid sensationalism.
You know, it was even worse than that because it was hatred. It was
This is.
the article was so violent and aggressive. Today, you could say it is each hate speech. The way we look at it, when you say, "I honestly don't care if they die."
Yes.
Wow, what a society!
Yes.
it's really disgusting. What I can't believe that they published this.
Yes. And this is
Well,
that's not a headline.
that's not a headline, exactly.
That's not a headline. That's a
That's a threat. That's practically a threat.
A declaration. That's a threat. That's a threat. And
You know,
and
it was in every language. The narrative was the same in every language, whether it was French. Let's talk about Canada, French or English.
Yes.
Yeah, but somebody had to authorize this.
That's correct.
You'd think at some points the Toronto Star would say, you know, this is a legal liability. We can't do this.
Right.
They never asked themselves that question. They were protected. They were protected.
What's the date on it?
22.
August 26, 2021.
21.
Oh, so then that means we had been in a lockdown since March 20 or March 15, depending on who you talk to. So this is already a year and a half of lockdown. So
Yes.
this is what we'd gone to in 18 months.
You know, the banks, all the banks, we have 6 banks in Canada. If you exclude the Caisse de Jardin in Quebec, which is not a bank of charter, but they all act the same way, and they all froze bank account. And that's illegal, but they were covered by the government.
That's right.
What can you do?
Yeah.
You cannot do nothing.
Yeah.
A lot of people suffered from that.
Yeah. If the RCMP won't prosecute fraud at that level, then the common man has no recourse.
And no faith in the system.
No reason for it.
No reason.
No reason, because there's no proof of honor to the badge.
Well, you know, since 2020, I suspected that for many years, but the system for me is broken. Yeah. For me, in my opinion, democracy does not exist in Canada.
But this week there has been increasing language about that, suggesting that we need to come to terms that we live in a totalitarian state.
Well, maybe not totalitarian state, but it has all the characteristic of it. Yeah. People, they confuse, sometimes they mix fascism and totalitarianism. We'll not talk about communism, but they will mix. And I wrote a lot about it. And the purpose of totalitarianism is nothing can exist outside of the system. This is a characteristic that is common with fascism. If you think about the Mussolini motto was nothing outside of the state, nothing against the state, and nothing
everything within the state.
Everything within the state, and that includes media, and it goes into the mind of people, and people, they start to act like this. And Anna Haran, she gives an example about totalitarianism. She said there's a man who goes with a machine gun, and he has 100 prisoners, and he's bringing them to the Gulag. It can be in Soviet Union or in Germany. And he says nobody is creating an insurrection. They have the power, but they are all tetanized. They cannot act, and they rely, and because everybody thinks that your neighbor will be a traitor.
Yeah.
So that's That was we had the characteristic here in Canada.
Yeah. Well,
Many people, they say it was not totalitarianism. I agree, but all the characteristics were we have a lot of examples.
But we have we're near, I think, near, or in some places, a situation such as those writers in the Russian gulags who were saying, I believed I was here because I belonged here, because I deserved to be here, because I did something against the state. And even though that they were being penalized with basically death, they believed that their incarceration was actually moving the state forward toward its goals.
Yes, and they like you said, they believed in it.
Right. So then a person who willingly subjects themselves to lockdown is effectively that same gulag writer.
Yes, they are. You know, we call mass psychology, and they cannot get out of it. As soon as you try to get out of it, you're looked at by the rest of the people. They hate you. They hate you because you stand up, and they cannot support to be wrong. They think that they're. If you read the Psychology of Mass of Le Bon and Freud, you understand very well. And you need a charismatic leader. Let's not forget that Justin Trudeau was quite charismatic in a way.
Yeah.
So, what will be the next? Who will be the next?
Andre, I'm tempted to kick you off the show for saying that. You do not say positive things about Justin Trudeau here.
No.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I will pick up a little bit later.
Right? Yeah. So
that's a swear jar. That's it.
Is it?
I don't know. It's payment runs the show.
We've not yet developed a punishment.
I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah.
Let's move on to this one. Actually, it's tied into what you guys are talking about right now. So let me paint a picture here when I say the erosion of political traditions. So last year we saw Texas ignored a Supreme Court ruling and they just put up razor wire. That's nullification of federal law. This whole sanctuary city craze, that's a nullification of federal law. Biden giving preemptive pardons to these individuals. I don't know if it's been done before, but it was, I don't know, certainly shocking to me. And now the states, they're almost undermining the concept of a federal pardon by saying, you know what, we're just going to, anytime the president pardons anyone, we're going to go after them for state criminal charges. And the reason, there's this book, everybody should read this, The Storm Before the Storm. I'll keep it brief, but the fall of the Roman Republic from like 150 BC, you had Tiberius Gracchus. He tried to support the people, the rich, they killed him, imprisoned his supporters. And then the poor came back and they got revenge against the rich. And then some general came in and got revenge against the poor. And then the poor got revenge against the rich again. And then Sulla came in and put them down. Sulla goes to fight a war. The poor start killing Sulla's partners and friends. Sulla comes back, starts a complete massacre throughout Rome. And it sets the stage for Pompey and Caesar to come in and sort of side with the poor. So this erosion of political traditions. What I don't know, Tim. What do you think about what I'm saying?
I've been thinking recently about the overlay of one century on top of another, and how much of that superimposition actually matches up, almost decade for decade. And we look at the conversation now that we're having regarding crypto and BRICS and the fiat and the gold standard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was 100 years ago that, well, this is 2025. When was the Federal Reserve established?
1912.
So we're in that period.
Yes, of course.
We're in that period. Like, I mean, it's 100 years, but we're in that period.
You know, so why 1912? You know, the Titanic, when it sank, there were 6 bankers that were they were on the boat, on the ship, and 3 of them were against the creation of the Federal Reserve.
So then that accident.
I'm just saying it's not a conspiracy.
It's
just a fact. I'm not implying nothing.
No, yeah, we're just calling it an event, but it makes opportunity for the Fed to come into existence. So look back at the novel you're talking about, and in this period, you know, in the Sulla and pre-Sulla period is the end of the Roman Republic. So you're watching the Roman Republic come to an end with periods of grassroots anarchy and periods of leadership, what's totalitarian, right, activity. If that precludes the end of the Republic and the entry into empire,
Yes.
does that match? Does that match so we're not looking at an end of civilization. We're looking at a conversion from a republic / democracy into an age of empire.
Yes, that's a very good observation.
Right. And the truth be told, from a strategic point, like if I was a prepper, right, I would go, well, that gives me hope because I know what to expect, because history has already given us the map. Right. So if I know the kind of storm that is coming, I can prepare.
Or if you are creating the storm.
Or if you're creating the storm, you have much more control because you're the one with the paintbrush.
Yes, isn't it? George W. Bush was saying that while you're struggling with the actual conflict, we're preparing the next one.
That's right. Yeah.
Payment. Can you just go back to the book?
Of course.
Aren't we supposed to boycott Amazon?
I lost track. Is this related to Jews or is it because it's American? I can't keep track of all of this.
No, it's because, Team Canada said that we have to boycott American product, and it is Amazon.ca.
.ca, right?
It's .ca. Yeah, it's all cool.
I'm sorry, it's just a joke. But you mentioned something important about the elite and the people. Do not forget that the elite, when they retaliate, they always retaliate with usury. It's always an increase. It's never an eye for an eye. It's an eye for an eye plus a leg.
But that's biblical.
Of course it is.
Look in Moses' day, right, when the Hebrews were in Egypt and they'd finally fallen into slavery. And so Moses goes to the people and says, let my people go, and so we can go out into the wilderness and worship God. And Pharaoh says, hang on a second, you guys have time to come and complain to me, to organize, to unionize, and to come and complain to the king? Clearly, you don't have enough work to do. And he makes them build twice as much product with half the resources.
Right? We make those.
That's 3,200 years ago.
We make those references all the time toward the Bible. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Hegemony was going to end sooner or later, and now the U.S. is basically choosing to end it on its own terms. It is the post-American world order brought to you by America itself.
That's an interesting concept, and I like it. I like it because there's a Caesar moment in there. At some point in time, Julius Caesar said, I'm going to cross the Rubicon. Here we go. But in his mind, he'd already crossed the Rubicon even while he was back in Gaul.
That's strategy. You planned before.
Right? All of that.
Because he took what? How many legions? He had 6 legions with him coming home. And everybody knows you don't cross the Rubicon because that's the line you do not cross. And he says, well, I'll talk to my guys. And one legion said, we will cross with you. Right? So that's like the Gideon thing, right? 12,000 people come, and by the time you're done, you've got 300 crazy guys who go with you to do the dumb thing. And somehow it works. And this is exact. So Caesar's allies in Rome come out and say, hey, don't do this. Hey, the risk is too great. Don't cross. And he says, well, I'll make up my mind in the morning. So they all go home thinking they've done their job. Afternoon comes, they get news. Oh, son of a bitch! Right? Here comes Caesar with it entirely with his legion. Well, America, like I say, America is pulling the rope itself, saying let's make this happen on our own terms.
Well, the comment is if hegemony is ending, maybe if hegemony is mutating. Well, changing form, like you said, from a republic to an empire.
An
And
empire.
don't forget that when Caesar was designated Caesar Imperator, it was already. I think it was in the roots of the Republic. When the Republic is starting to be weakened, people start to lose their moral sense in many domains, and you end up in a more authoritarian regime because you have to apply law. Sigmund Freud in 1900, in one of his books, he was talking about Germany. He was living in Vienna in Austria, and he said in Germany there's not a lot of laws, but citizens they respect it. And what is interesting in this quote is that people they behave like citizens. You do not have to punish them or to vote some laws. Huh? I think payment you refer to libertarianism. Sometimes you had some podcast with some people who were talking about let's have a free environment, but you still need moral sense. If you don't have moral sense.
If I can add to that, I'll give you one example. Vancouver, people are getting demoralized, so they're losing their morality, and it comes from the fact that no one's getting married, no one's having kids. So you have money, and what are the three things you want? Drugs, sex, and alcohol.
Yes.
You cannot come in on top of that and introduce, laws to stop people doing drugs.
It will never work. It will never work.
Yeah.
It will never work. There was an article in Quebec this week. I said nothing happened, but somebody wrote an article about the demography in Quebec. Now the population in Quebec is 9 million. They said the 1950 families in Quebec were having 3-4 children. They said today, if they would have continued like this, the population in Quebec would be 20 million. So you can imagine that. You don't need immigration. You have your birth replacement rate. Yeah. And I think when like you mentioned, payment, when we lose that sense of morality and we have, like Mr. Carney said, the fentanyl crisis is not a crisis, it's a challenge. What are you talking about? More drugs, sex, money, no responsibility, no duty. I think about the army, for example, military services. Who does that today except people who really want to go there? It's not mandatory, so that's maybe a turmoil. We're in a period of instability, and like Tim said, maybe Trump is pulling the plug on something.
Well, I wouldn't think that it would be all on his own, but I think of, and I've mentioned this a few times going back 2015-ish, is Trump is a businessman, and this world, all of it moves in economic and financial circles, products, producers and consumers. This is the new model, right? And he is a soldier, a warrior, a general in this arena. He's not the biggest and the baddest of them, but he is familiar with this type of combat, let's say. So we'll put it into those terms. So then the Caesar-esque element there is that he is a businessman. And just insert the word general because of his wealth, because of his influence, and then look at other people that he has gathered around him. Right? They're
not very poor. That's
they are and right because generals with their own legions had to fund it themselves. Right? Rome did not fund the generals. The generals had to fund themselves.
Yes,
right? And they paid for their armies themselves. Right. So this is what you're watching. So you have the inner circle with Muscatel, right? And these are generals with their own legions. So you see the structure that I'm aiming for is you have a very Caesar-esque construct in that they hire lawyers, they're not lawyers. They hire bureaucrats, they're not bureaucrats. They are soldiers.
Yes,
right?
Yes, it's a good analogy.
That makes them unique in modern politics because they are not politicians. They are soldiers. They are, right? So my thought here is hegemony converting into corporatocracy?
Yeah, that's a good reference. And you talk about the soldier. They are unorthodox.
Yes.
They act in politics because their name in office, but they don't act according to the classical politics, if I can use the expression. They will say something or they will do something that most politicians would not do. So
They
they
are
think
not using,
outside of the box.
they are not using the UN playbook.
Yes, that's a good observation. The UN, which is the international law based on rule.
Yeah.
That's the quote of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always, I like Madam Clinton a lot.
Wonderful human being.
Kind,
That's right.
kind woman, good feminist.
A good
Well,
feminine.
no, sorry. I know.
Good wife. Yeah.
Where's the swear? I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm very vulgar. Where's the swear jar?
We'll put it on your tab.
Okay.
All right. The next thing to go over, I'm just calling it propaganda wars. Let me go through it, and the audience will get a sense of what I mean. So you have Danielle Smith using the phrase "fentanyl czar." That's very intentional. So she's pandering to her base. You have our favorite liberal, Max Fawcett. He goes crazy every time Danielle or Alberta says anything. So he's coming out and attacking them. Sort of the battle lines are being drawn. Andrew Coyne, here's another guy who's, he's very much aligned against Alberta. This is I always put up this quote when Andrew Coyne's being mentioned. He's like a foreign agent.
Is he from Quebec?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, separatist foreign agent. Another one is this hot mic event, this hot mic incident. It wasn't a hot mic incident. He gave a speech to a room full of people, and he knew that message would get out. So this is PR. It's not a hot mic. I call that more propaganda.
It's most leaks are intentional.
Exactly. It's not a hot mic. Yeah. Sam Cooper, great guy. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but he's using the word, our real fentanyl czar. Again, he's falling victim to this terminology.
Yep.
I'm just making fun of myself. I said, making plastic straws great again. I'm probably falling victim as well. And I always want to wrap it up with this, just to point out how evil the media is.
Yeah. The Western media is evil. It is evil. Yeah.
Well, your title was propaganda.
Yeah.
So we have to go back to Orwell.
So what's the purpose of propaganda?
Well, to retain control, retain power.
So it's
like I look at what is happening now. The parliament is prorogued. The liberal and the leadership race, which is not a race, and everybody is having their own agenda, not caring about what is happening in the country. Whether it happens or not, they don't care. So it is quite interesting to see that they float above the peasants.
Yes.
But they need the peasants. I referred yesterday to this rally from Mark Carney where one liberal member was kicked out of the rally because he posted I would say undiplomatic comment on Facebook about Carney, and they stopped him. They checked his Facebook account, and when they discovered that, they revoked his membership and they kicked him out with security.
Can I ask, who's they? Was this the RCMP that did?
No. No. I think it's the security where the rally of Mark Carney was. The man posted that on X, and I was watching. I said, "This is a fake. It is not possible."
Think about the tools you need to make that happen in real time.
In real time.
Think of the tool.
QR code.
Like Facebook banning you or giving you a 30-day slap for something you posted 17 months ago. It's 3 guys with computers,
yes,
laptops, whatever, standing in front of you saying, "Give me your ID," and then boom, and then instantly put a query into your Facebook history as third parties and pulling it up. They're not even Where did they get that authority? That's
I don't know.
Is that not search and seizure?
Well,
this is what I was trying to get at. He's not the prime minister yet.
Right.
He's not. He doesn't. Yeah. He's not even in. He doesn't lead anything in the Liberal Party. How did he get the authority to do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why do this to a member of the Liberal Party? It is a member who paid his membership, who believes in the policy of the party. Yeah. Maybe he wants to support Carney, but maybe he has some critic, which is supposed to be healthy in the democracy, and he's kicked out.
Yeah. So maybe the concern is he's signed on as a Liberal to vote for Ruby or to vote for the other fella.
Maybe, but
that so they give him the boot, right?
But still, the Liberal they permitted that.
Yes, the party executive permitted it. So yes. If they did not provide the individuals and the tech to do it, or negotiate with the third-party agency that had the tech to do it, or secure BlackRock or whoever who was capable of doing that, and then you have to have some form of warrant or access documentation from CSIS and or the RCMP. So they have to be deputized.
Official, yes.
Yeah. This does not happen willy-nilly. It does not.
That's why when payment refers to propaganda war,
yeah,
we are only a plain observer. We're not even soldiers.
Yeah. No, we're not even soldiers. No.
Which one of you two mentioned earlier that the RCMP, like, they're not really doing their job anymore? So the people feel powerless. These things happen. Yes. We know that the RCMP won't do anything about it. And so we just give up. Meanwhile, if I did this to Mark Carney, I'd probably be in jail immediately.
Yes.
It was in Brampton, Ontario yesterday. There was 6, I think it's Khalistani or Pakistani men who shot at Kalashnikov in a park, and they filmed themselves. And now the RCMP are trying to find them. Wait a second, a semi-automatic weapon that is banned, and you go and shoot in a park, and you film yourself, and you post this on, I think they posted it on TikTok or something.
Take a picture of yourself with a loaded gun in your own house.
It's finished.
See how long before the RCMP comes for you. You don't even have to fire it. You're on your own property. It could be on your farm.
Here I can guarantee you the SQ, Sûreté du Québec, when you call, I live in a village, so it takes about 3 hours if they come. But if it's true, if it is a gun or something like that, most probably, or a bad conversation, shut down your Wi-Fi.
Yes. You find your power cut from the main road.
And that's why propaganda war, I think we are in this era now.
Yeah, no, I agree with your section title. This is definitely propaganda war, and the Conservative Party is losing.
Do Payment and Tim, do you think that we can get out of this war?
I do.
Because we, like Payment said, citizens, they feel helpless.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but in spite of how dark we're painting it and showing that there are agents and agencies with access to way more judicial and security tools than we might even think possible, I still think that the commoner, the citizen, has the power to switch this around, right? And yes, we are responsible for creating these problems through our own largesse and our own bourgeois lifestyle and thinking that, well, I'll just let other people deal with it. I've got my own stuff. And so this is how we get here. But I think we can turn that around. Even to the 11th hour, I believe we can turn that around. Right? I do believe we can turn that around, but it has to be at the grassroots level.
Yes.
Right? So if there is a political party or at any level, or a politician that you support or you feel needs to be corrected, then you have to be in contact with them and remind them of who signs their paycheck.
We were talking earlier about alternative media. Do you think that they will understand? Because bloggers, they have their own ego, they have their own
Yes.
show. Do you think
Yes.
that they can federate the movement to be not necessarily to be neutral, but to be more determined to help this grassroots movement? We see it, but it seems it's not organized enough.
No, it's not, because the problem of the cult of personality. And we've mentioned this before.
That's what I refer to.
Right. And so during COVID, small protest groups rose up. They galvanized around an individual, usually, because that's the nature of humans. That's what we do. Right. I don't feel too energetic or too courageous, or I don't know enough. And then somebody I do know, or a friend of a friend, says, hey, let's go and do this. And that galvanizes me. Then before you know it, you have a small organization. Down here at, I can't remember which border crossing it was, but there were regular rallies down at these borders, and they learned as they went on and whatnot. And then that was going on for several months while the convoy was being arranged quietly. And then when the convoy became a thing, then a lot of these small organizations and small groups came in support of it, but they remained disconnected because the cult of personality had established this little pyramidal structure around that one individual, even during and even after the convoy.
Yes.
And rather than them galvanizing, the right word is unionizing, organizing around, say, a board or a collective, and then doing things nationwide, they chose to maintain their own little identity and their own little pet projects. And so the problem with the right is it doesn't organize, because we are independent thinkers. We take upon ourselves the things that need to be done. Whereas the left, being more community minded to begin with, will very easily organize. It's a
like
character.
What, like Woodstock?
Yeah, it's a character, right?
I refer to this because we talked about activism.
Yeah.
And in one of my recent articles, I referred to a movement, a sudden movement, that will mutate or evolve into a political organization with structure. Because you have to be able to galvanize those energy. Hate is not a good argument. It's not a good. It's not a good behavior. You need to transform this hate into determination, into a movement that will be positive. I like always the idea of Arnold Aino. He says, okay, it has to be optimistic. The message has to be optimistic. That you can transfer the activism into a movement that will be structured. I don't say it is easy. It's difficult.
I actually disagree, because I think the message needs to be we are in a state of emergency, this is why. But the call to action must be positive.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
That's a very good.
That's like from my position in leadership, I want people to be aware things are pretty effed up, and this is how. And if you're feeling pressure, and then you bring the people to understand, and you do that through the feelings, and then you back it up with logic. This is on the right side. And you say, however, we're all going to address this, because you need to motivate the right to act collectively, because they don't naturally or instinctively act collectively. Right. And by that, I mean conservative-minded thinkers, conservative personalities are quite individualistic. Bees racing back to the hive to protect the queen, that collectivism, that's liberal. The liberal-minded individual is like a hive mind, but the conservative-minded individual is not a hive mind. Right? So this is why, so you talk about the instant response from the public. Floyd, instant public response, like
George Floyd.
George Floyd, like that was like telepathy across that entire group. And before that was Rodney King, right? Instant.
Yes.
instant response from the
Yes,
people.
but those are minorities that are controlled. You
And-
can control them, and you can make them do
Useful
things
idiots.
for
And yet-
political purpose.
And that's true. They are minorities, but they are also millions. Right?
Yes.
These are hundreds of thousands and millions. So are they on the fringe? They are, but we forget that we got 400 million people on the continent.
Hmm.
Right? So my thought there is, if the right wants to stall what's coming or stop it entirely, it must act collectively.
Self-governed, says Floyd, was a color revolution.
You know what? He's right. He's right because they always manipulate. Like I said, they always manipulate minority to overturn a government or to change policies.
Can we go to one of the audience members? She's got a question. So first, Sue says hello to the panelists, and her question's kind of broken apart across multiple ones. So she's talking about how we shouldn't rely on the U.S. and we're responsible for our own problems. And then here's a good one. She says the main problem with Pierre Poilievre is the inability to pivot, usually caused by overmanagement. If a corporation did the same thing, they would go bankrupt.
Yeah. It's a political party that relies on a three-word platform has no platform. Right. So all he has is marketing.
Those are slogans.
Yeah. All he has are slogans. And he's
sales pitch.
And his right. So the pitch without, what do we say? Features, advantages, right? FAB, right? Features, advantages, and benefits. And he's not talking about features. He's not talking about advantages. He's not talking about benefits, because if CPC is the product, tell me about the features that make it unique compared to the competition. What is the advantage to me as a citizen to hire the CPC to represent me in Parliament, right? What are the benefits to me as a citizen that I'm not going to get from the competition? He doesn't provide any of that, because that's called policy, and they don't have any, because they simply parrot the UN. So his inability to pivot is because he's anchored into the UN narrative and told, you're next in line by the UN, I think, via WEF. I think he's the heir apparent according to the UN and Agenda 2030. But now all of a sudden Carney steps in, and I think he's the City of London agent to combat Trump. So now you have two large world
They were screwed either way.
Right? Two large. So we have Godzilla and King Kong fighting for Parliament Hill.
Who's come on, you go back in 1980, 1970, who's Ultraman?
Right.
Ultraman. What you're referring to, and the question or the observation is interesting. I was thinking about this this week. We ask a savior, and we want somebody to do the job for us. If we talk about Canada, we have to fix the corruption, the lobby. We have to fix the career politicians who are, I'm sorry, uneducated. They never did. We were talking about a politician who arrives at 40, 45 years old. He has a business. He has families. He will be less susceptible to be corrupted. So we have to do the job ourselves in Canada. And then after that, we could start to understand how to negotiate with our neighbor. It's not what we're seeing now. It's like people are for the 51st state, against, and I'm telling myself we cannot even agree between provinces, and we cannot even agree nationally, and with respect to province prerogative. If we would be able to do that, let's go back to 1982, the Constitution.
Yes.
I go back there because I tell myself, what do we do now? One person made a comment today, said, okay, if we go to the 51st state tomorrow, how we will adapt constitutional monarchy with a republic? It will take years to be able to negotiate something And I'm not talking about the culture. I'm talking about the law. So you could imagine all the lawyers or the jurists who would have to work on that to be able to integrate. It doesn't mean that people will agree also. So how come we're not fixing our own problem, addressing them, admitting that they exist? Now, if we refer to the front page of the Toronto Star, the media were are a criminal organization. They're, like you said, Tim, they're evil. We have to understand that if we want to move ahead. If we don't understand the problem, we cannot provide solutions.
That's correct.
I think she's right when she's saying we have to fix our own problem in Canada first.
Yes.
But
Andre, if you want
that takes.
You mentioned the 51st state. We can jump ahead. I've curated some stuff.
Go ahead.
No, it's just people. I'll quickly go through this. The lines are being drawn. So this guy is pro 51st state, and this is the argument that they're giving. Well, all the problems in Canada are not because of the U.S. They're because of us. Our fellow PPC candidate Arnold Haino, he made a similar argument. Trump is not the root of our problems.
And how many views he saw? That was incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah,
and I went to read the comment. You cannot imagine how sometimes they were aggressive. Wait, the man, he's just don't shoot the messenger.
Yes,
he's just quoting.
Yeah. This is either it shows how much support there is in Canada for joining the U.S., or this is the CIA doing this.
That's a good.
Yeah. Well, we found Twitter's other 200,000 bots.
Yeah. Same argument here. Gov is an anarcho-capitalist. Same thing. Pointing out that the problems are from within, not from the U.S. I saw this. Somebody sent this to me. They're really pissed off. Like our governments are telling us we're all genocidal maniacs. Canadians are racist. Then all of a sudden, they're telling us to be proud Canadians.
Right.
I like this one.
Yeah.
The flag one. So they're saying the convoy was was a racist movement, and now the liberals are taking on the flag. I had another one, but this gentleman JP, he's gotten big. He's all for separating and joining the U.S. This woman right here.
This is nice.
Said it out loud. This
is not possible.
I guess I can read it. Canadians are fuming and fighting back, and as a side benefit, we've reclaimed the flag from the awful convoy co-opting. Let's go, Canada. This woman is a CBC swamp creature.
Wow.
She worked for the CBC.
I think somebody on X published something, said, aren't you an ex-CBC journalist?
Oh, that was Nikki.
And
Nikki Pylon, I think.
Nikki Pylon. And it is funny because you look at that and you understand from where she speaks.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to go find it.
No, it's just because this woman, I think she has her periods.
Close your open X.
I will not say it loud.
Then this guy, I don't know. Now this guy's trying to be relevant. He's saying, "Oh, we can't talk about the Arctic without including the Inuit." And at this point, like you can't mention North Vancouver without including the Iranian community. Like, where are we going to take this?
So does that mean you can't talk about Edmonton without including the Newfoundland community?
But that's what I was referring to. Everybody's talking with pursuing their own agenda. So they don't talk to each other.
This is intersectionalism.
Probably.
This is intersectionalism.
Well, we're not in 1969 with Woodstock, where everybody was fucking with everybody. Sorry for the word. It is I would say make love, peace and love. Today it is like everybody has an agenda. Okay, we discuss. I can disagree with you, but if I don't listen to your argument, how can I change my mind? And maybe that's the problem with many social media. They publish a lot of things, a lot of comments without thinking.
So perhaps these disparate groups are not interested in learning because they've chosen their side.
Already.
Right. So public discourse between different points on the spectrum is pointless because
Well,
they've all chosen their side. So now that the lines are
Sorry, Andre, just let me jump in there really quick. Sorry to cut you off, Andre.
Okay.
I want to tie together something this theme that we're trying to hit on, how like independent investigative journalism is dead, and before we had like the Panda Wars, like the battle lines are being drawn. You pick a side, and you defend to the death that side. That's what I'm trying to get at with, Daniel Smith picking your side, Max Fawcett being against Daniel Smith, and now we got the 51st State pro and against side. There's no objectivity. There's no search for the truth anymore.
Yeah,
you're right, and that's what I'm referring to. The fact that they pick a side, and that's what you see. Team Canada, and this woman who Team Canada. Come on, Legault hates Ford. They all hate Daniel Smith. They don't even know who David Avey is. They don't care. But suddenly they're in Washington spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of citizens' money to be able to meet Donald Trump. You can see the meme about François Legault in Quebec. It is so funny. There's no such thing as Team Canada. Now they gather all behind the Canadian flag, and they will paint again what was maybe one of the most important moments in the history of Canada, which is the Freedom Convoy.
Yes.
Where people gathered. I saw Quebecers. I will call them Quebecers. Like I said, I'm French Canadian, but some people, they consider themselves Quebecers. I saw them go there. I know personally a man who was an inventor. He was in Ottawa. He was bringing fuel to the trucker, and the constitutional battle was forgotten. They were fighting something. They were fighting freedom. Yeah. That's why they call it Freedom Convoy. I think that was a great moment. So this woman, when she makes this comment, she missed everything. Yeah. According to what we would say, what is the history of Canada? That's part of modern history.
Yeah, she probably lives in an apartment in Ottawa downtown.
Oh. Alone with a glass of white wine and a cat.
Yeah, and the window facing the honking truck horns.
But that's what you're calling political warfare.
Yeah. And the way forward is for us to continue to press. That's it. We continue to press. We continue to identify the holes in their logic. We continue to identify injustice until people who are, honk honk means exactly.
Hitler, yes.
Do you remember that? Yara Sachs.
Especially from the conservative member of parliament who said that.
Yeah, it's
Yara Sachs is
continue to press.
Liberal, I think.
Right.
They make some very short connections between ideas. It's sometimes you ask yourself, they are short in their brain.
Yeah.
Must be an electrical short.
False equivalencies. Because you can make a false equivalency very quickly. You can turn it into a slogan.
I was referring more to an electrical short. The two wires touching in the brain. That's it.
Yeah.
It's finished. The brain is grilled. They don't think, they react. And in the parliament, in the House of Commons, you often listen to the debate and they react without thinking. Yes. They just follow the line of the party. They don't care about. Yeah, that's it.
I found it for you.
That's it. Oldenbarneveld.
And a public affairs counselor. So her means of maintaining public affairs is by creating groupthink against an undesirable margin.
How many millions? 37 millions for that global affair sent to Africa, in a country in Africa. I think it's Gabon, so they can teach people not to shit on the street. That was Canadian money,
right?
When you look at this, you say, "Wait a second, we could keep this money here because there's a lot of people who shit on the street now in Canada. So
Well,
We
Brampton
could
anyway.
use that money at home.
we
to
can use that
people
money at
not to
home
sit on the street.
Yeah.
to educate new Canadian citizens.
Yeah.
Let's be serious.
When,
They're,
when do we
they're,
become a third world country and qualify for some of that sweet aid money?
yes.
Could you imagine third world countries refusing the money? Like, no, you need it more.
No.
Canadians are
You know
struggling.
what's funny? That's
For only $1 a day, you could.
That's
feed
the
No,
them.
come on.
phenomenon.
When I was 10 years old in school, little boy, the director was arriving in the afternoon and saying, "Okay, we will sell you some small pictures of Chinese people who are orphans, so you have to give 5 cents." Today in China, you have some director or teacher. They arrive in school and they say, "We'll sell you a small picture of Canadian children because they're poor. We have to send some yuan in Canada." That's the society has completely changed.
well.
I look at that. It's like what?
This reminds me of the phenomena in the 90s when third world nation Christians were sending missionaries to America.
Yes. And you think about the Vietnamese, the boat people in 1990. Oh, we were welcoming people. Now it has completely changed. Look at what is happening in our country.
Well, because we're calling them refugees, we're calling them asylum seekers, we're calling them, but they're not.
Well, you know that Sue Calendar, she refers about the fiscal arrangement.
Yeah, let me read this out. She's made two good comments. So
This is
Sue,
very important.
I'm not familiar with this act. The Federal Provincial Fiscal Arrangements Act must be changed. Does anyone know what that is?
Is that the act that, among other things, manages the transfer payments?
Well, that's equalization. That's one thing. The other thing, don't forget that Quebec has its own fiscal system. Here in Quebec, we do two tax report. That's
You keep two books?
We do two tax report here.
Do you guys do anything above board?
Alors, since Maurice Duplessis, who recovered a part of the tax, the income tax, we do, and they were trying to harmonize the both, but in Quebec they want to keep this prerogative because they nationalists, they will push that agenda and say, if we are sovereign, we will manage our own money.
Right.
That's where you see equalization coming in. I think referring to this federal provincial, it's important. And what I think is very important is that the prime minister that went to Washington, they act like Team Canada, but they are all against having a national interprovincial agreement for trade. It doesn't exist.
We don't have one.
We don't have one. I can give you some example. I want to buy butter from Ontario, and I have a provider, small cheese shop. He imports cheese from everywhere around the world. It's been 50 years he's in business. And when he tried to have this butter from Ontario, I tasted it was very good. She said, "I cannot have it." I said, "Damn, Ontario is next to us. It's near. It's in Sudbury, the farm." He said, "I cannot. There's no trade agreements, or the producer could not send it to Quebec." And this is nationwide. We don't have. I understand the prerogative of provinces, their sovereignty, like Tim mentioned, always the autonomy of province. But there's a limit. We don't have any free trade, even in our own country.
Yeah, man, it was in 21 during one of the lockdowns when the Conservative Party bragged, because I get their newsletters, the Conservative Party bragged that they were going to put a bill on the floor. This is 2021 during the lockdowns. They're going to put a bill on the floor to remove interprovincial trade barriers to beer.
To beer.
It's perfect timing for that bill.
Right.
Yes, it is the equalization formula.
There's a man who went to New Brunswick to buy alcohol. He bought wine. I think he bought $1,000 of wine. He came to Quebec with this wine. It was for his consumption, and he got fined by the government. because you cannot go because they said you will sell it. So I'm not selling. It's for my own my personal. And it is like you say, wait. So you have barriers everywhere, even for individual.
Another good comment from Sue. I'm a Newfoundlander and a Labradorian. Open trade means we would be able to wheel our hydroelectric power through Quebec to other provincial markets. Much longer problem than pipelines.
She's right, and I now I remember Sue Kellen Dyer. I was in a space, and she was talking about Newfoundland and how I was very happy because she was explaining what you often explain, Tim, about Newfoundland. The problem with those provincial markets, they jealously want to keep their sovereignty, what they call sovereignty, Quebec. Huh? We talk about the new agreement between Labrador, Nalcor, and Hydro-Quebec. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. It's the same thing with pipeline. We see it. Quebec says, Yves-François Blanchet said there will never be a pipeline that will go through Quebec. And so, and I think, Tim, you said, okay, we'll go around by Hudson Bay.
Yes.
It's the same thing. We don't have this national policy. It's been many times I say that we don't have this national policy on energy, but on every product. Yeah. And this is a constitutional problem.
Yeah. And even if Newfoundland were to come up with a good program to move hydroelectric south through Labrador directly into, like the Maritimes and then into the States, even if we could do that and bypass Quebec, federal government would oppose it.
Well, you know what happened
when Ontario in particular would oppose it.
Yes, I think it's important you mentioned
Ontario. Memorandum of understanding, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You know when they started to develop the Lower Churchill, the federal government subsidized Newfoundland. I don't remember the amount of money. It was quite a lot. I think it was $6 billion to develop the Lower Churchill and to be able to bypass or go around Quebec with an underground electrical transmission connection. It didn't work. But the idea was there. They said, Quebec doesn't want to collaborate. Let's go around. But where's the national policy? There's no national policy.
Can you explain this to me? How is equalization not a transfer?
Well, equalization would be, I think it's related to the GDP. And the transfer is for program, like healthcare.
Equalization is the formula.
Is the formula, and
transfers are the physical transactions, the wire. So where, for example, a transfer from Ottawa to BC, which is largely wrapped in healthcare, wrapped up with the healthcare bow, right? In which case, Ottawa says to BC, "Here's your X number transfer payment for, et cetera, and this is for healthcare, and if you want it, you're going to exact this policy." So what they did was they passed and then made the province the hammer for the COVID mandates and attached it. You want the money, you'll go do this.
That was what they did with the COVID. Yes.
Yeah, and it's not just, they don't just do that with COVID. They've been doing that for decades with a variety of other national or Ottawa interests. So they hold the transfer money at bay and then demand something in back. So my specific reference here, Sue, is to British Columbia and what they do with healthcare.
We're getting a hard no from Sue.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because I mean it's
but she made a comment about let's say Newfoundland selling energy to Ontario. The system already exists to transport the energy from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You have to pay the fee. You have to pay the fee, the transportation of the energy. All network are connected. Yeah. So it's not a question of it is not possible. It's a question of contract.
Angers Newfoundlanders enough is when they realize that the current Quebec Newfoundland renewal arrangement only pays 3% to Newfoundlanders.
Yes.
Right, and it's something like 60 or 70% goes to Quebec, and then the remainder is to the corporations that are the utilities that are making the actual work happen. But it's what did we figure that the difference in profit between Newfoundland and Quebec was 24 times. So Quebec is making 24 times what Newfoundland is being paid for a waterfall that is actually inside Newfoundland's territory.
I believe they call that laughing all the way to the bank.
All that laughing all the way to the bank. And they'll probably try to pay Newfoundlanders in $3 bills.
But you see, Sue Calendar, she makes a very good distinction between transfer and equalization. I think, and transfer toward health and education, because health and education are provincial prerogative. They already, the law of the Health Act is national, but the application of the act is provincial. So that's why you pay taxes, you send the money to Ottawa, they give you the money to implement or to manage your healthcare system. So it's supposed to be.
Did Tommy Douglas's plan for a national healthcare, was that then hijacked so that Ottawa could maintain control?
That's a good question. And you know who would be able to answer to this? Arnold Eno, because he knows a lot about healthcare. No, it's true. No, it's true. And he always referred to Tommy Douglas. Always.
Interesting.
So maybe it was hijacked for. Think about income tax. When you send us today this little comment about gold standard,
yes,
income tax was supposed to be temporary.
Yes, World War I.
It is
World War I.
World War
I.
It was supposed to be temporary. So when we arrive in a society where income tax is a burden on your property right, I think we have this discussion often. You're not an owner. You're not an owner. You're a tenant. We have no sovereignty here. If you compare this to the United States, if you drill on your land and you find oil, you have the right to exploit it. Not here. Yeah. I think payment you did the space. I'm not sure about the Crown land.
I hate Crown land. Audrey, I wanted to add one more thing. Tommy Douglas, when he sort of started regulating and taking over the healthcare profession, the doctors, they tried to mount a resistance. So they got together and they tried to fight it, but they had two problems. One, doctors aren't really good at this. Like, government is very good at stripping your rights. Professionals, experts are not good at defending their rights. They're only good at whatever they're doing. The second problem is the problem we're noticing today. It's very hard to get the public interested. You go to them, it's like, oh, they're encroaching on healthcare. People are like, I don't care, I'm starving. I don't care. My husband died the other day.
It's interesting what you're mentioning, because right now in Quebec, I said nothing happened in Quebec, but it's not true. Right now in Quebec, the government wants to pass a law to forbid doctors to go in private sector, in private clinic.
Right.
All of them. And there's a big movement now, a big resistance from doctors, because you have about 25 to 30% of the doctors who do not want to stay in the public system. And now the government is saying, we will retain you in the public system for at least 5 years. Yeah, let's say you get out of the university at 28, you have to work 5 years in the public healthcare system. And then at 32, 33, you can start your own clinic. Half of your lifetime career is gone. So now there's a big, they're trying to fight back, because they say, wait a second, where's our independence? A doctor is supposed to be a liberal profession. He's supposed to give a diagnosis, and only the other doctor of his order can challenge him, or he's supposed to be a liberal, what we call a liberal, an autonomous person, a professional. Now he will become a public worker. And they try to fight back, but I'm not sure they will win.
Doctors, I said, they're not good at this. They're great
They're not
at
good.
slicing you open and removing your appendix, but they're not good
Well,
at communicating.
but what stops them from being good at putting money into local candidates' pockets and saying, "Speak for us"?
I
Why don't
don't
they do
know.
that?
Well, what you will see, le Collège des Médecins, how they acted during COVID, they lost all credibility. The Order of Doctors in Quebec. It was the same
Yeah.
thing in Ontario. It was the same thing
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yes.
Who trusts them now?
The BC
Nobody.
College of Physicians and Surgeons.
I think Payment had an interview with a doctor in BC. I don't if I recall, and it was very interesting because who can you trust if you cannot trust your professional order? So it's a big issue. And I think she mentioned that we have to fix our own problem, not expecting a savior, a political savior, or an emperor that will annex our country. It's not going to work.
What you just described is another superimposition, and that is, there was a time when the kings of England usurped the power of the guild for his own designs. Where the idea of the early guilds was to give local craftsmen, tools and collaboration and access to reasonable better markets. So the guilds had a high degree of autonomy, but then as they grew in power, particularly the guilds within cities, the king got involved and started charging them to be able to operate the guild.
Yes.
Licensing them to be able to operate the guild, and in return was giving them favor.
Yes.
For favor. And
if it's the church, it's indulgence.
Right. And that's how you get the East India Company.
But what you're referring to, the guild, in Switzerland, you have this concept of localism.
Yeah.
And localism based on subsidiarity was a concept from the church, and it comes locally. So, like the guild, they are a group of artisans. They are together. They work. They help each other. They form a group, merchant, but they have duties, and they have knowledge. What do we have today? The order, the College of Doctor in Quebec or in BC or in Ontario, they are corporate businesses, and they will comply to the recommendations of the World Health Organization. That will be funny. What happened in United States? What's happening in the United States now, when they will get out of the World Health Organization? Now, officials in the World Health Organization are freaking out because they will not have any financing.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
Too bad for them. Yeah. So any questions come up in the audience, I'll go back and I'll read them. But moving on to the next topic, I'm calling it pander wars. Every political candidate is pandering. We all saw Michael Clark pandering a moratorium. This Ruby Dalla, she's talking about deportations of illegals. I guess this isn't pandering. She's just a communist, but they're talking about UBI. I think she's NDP. I didn't know who this lady was, but Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie is going after the international students. That's pandering because that was their lifeblood, this whole liberalism. Trudeau is pandering about breaking down interprovincial trade. Not that he was for interprovincial trade barriers, but it never came up. Now he's pandering to shore up support. Jagmeet Singh is trying to stay relevant, 100% tariff on Tesla. That's pandering. Pierre Poilievre, he's going Canada first. I mean, I should take myself out of there. But like, he's going Canada first. To me, that's pandering this late into the game.
Yeah.
Some people also say he's pandering with the
press,
quotas. And that's always your fascist newspaper to round it off.
What's the definition, the real definition of pandering? Trying to talk to somebody.
Are you asking me to bring up ChatGPT?
No, but when you pander, you tell somebody what he wants to hear.
The definition of pander is to gratify or indulge an immoral or distasteful desire, need, or habit, or a person with such a desire, etc. So he's
Okay,
appealing to a more base nature.
that's exactly what I'm referring
Right.
to.
Yeah.
So is this still pandering, or is this technically not pandering?
It is. It's appealing
It is,
to
it is,
because the
it
base
is.
nature is amygdala conversation, right? So if what they're all saying is they are appealing to the people's base response or a well-aligned response to a particular subject. So they've gone out to the polls or their pollsters and said, well, now we're all swinging toward, we want a moratorium. Well, we better move toward that. And so it's the definition says, you know, immoral or distasteful, but that's not necessarily true. The base desire is the more accurate reference. So they're specifically saying things that will motivate people emotionally, because everything goes through your amygdala. It doesn't have to be logical. It just has to be emotional.
Well, you know what you're referring to is the what's it, a primal behavior.
Yes.
You by a classical politician, he will do that. He will try to have a speech that will appeal to people who are attending the rally, and he will try to be nice, and like Carney is playing hockey or he's serving pizza, or like the example that Payment is giving. They all pander to their clientele, their customers, or their group of interest.
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to. They don't listen to each other. There's no rationality in this. Yeah. It's
Since
emotional.
COVID, the governments have been pandering to WEF and the UN and other unelected organizations. Now that they're saying, wow, we might lose our jobs, they're starting to pander to, now they're starting to pander to Canadian groups because we're the ones who mark the X on the paper.
Mm.
So that will shift, because once they finally find themselves back into their old chair, they'll ignore us again and go back to pandering to these unelected third party and agencies outside of Canada. So that would be the immoral end of it, which is what Bernier says, morally and intellectually corrupt. Right. So that's that aspect of it. So suddenly hearing language that panders to Canadians' base fears, particularly regarding the crisis caused by immigration, right? Was it four of those people were speaking about anti-immigration, and Trump is talking about, or not Trump, Trudeau is talking about taking down trade barriers. Why? Because he doesn't want to talk about immigration. But the other everyone else did.
Well, you know, okay, the pandering, could it be an indicator that they know something that we don't know, that an election is coming? If they're starting to pander, it's because they need, like you said, they need voters, and after the election, the general election, they will forget us again for 4 years.
Right. That's right.
So maybe they know something that we don't know.
Same thing happened here in BC with the election just passed. Is David Eby spent a whole lot of time pandering to his base out in BC, and then immediately afterwards, Victoria just stopped talking.
Yeah, but this is a little bit different. Like, maybe it's not even pandering when you've spent your entire party vision is on getting rid of the white man, you know, bringing in as many people, multiculturalism. It's like a United Colors of Benetton commercial,
right?
Rather than onto the legislature. Yes. And then you do a 180.
Yeah,
that's what I mean when I say it's not just that they're pandering; they're lying.
Well, they're scrambling to keep their seat.
That's it. It's not complicated. That's the economical or financial incentive.
I mean, I'm hoping for a fall election, so that I'm better prepared. But maybe you're right? Maybe it's
it's a bumper sticker, or at least a T-shirt. Mark Carney prints money. Justin Trudeau wastes money. Jagmeet Singh borrows money. None of them manage money.
Right. Well, they don't have to manage money if the budget balances itself.
The budget, does that still exist?
You're right.
How many billions of deficit this year? We don't even know.
Was it Kathleen McKenna misplaced $90 billion?
It's $90 billion. I know.
What is that? Because
Come on, who amongst us hasn't misplaced $90 billion? Be honest.
Oh yes, I did it.
So
in a previous
I
life.
did the math
in a
on that.
previous life.
If I spent $100 every second, it would take me 238 years to spend $90 billion. I mean, like,
Yes,
how
it's because you don't have the same taste as
do you wrap your
usually
head around that
who
kind of money
spends $51,000 on booze every month.
every month, right?
Every month.
Every month.
It looks very
I
attractive.
spend
for
that
Trump.
in my lifetime every month.
The sun is creeping
you know,
in on my head again.
numbers are not important anymore.
No.
They're not
Is there
important because
a solar eclipse where you are, Tim?
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment about that because I have my blinds open and the sun is coming through.
No, it's the CIA.
We explained
CIA
this
shutting down is
It's
We
the
explained
mothership
this
last
that's
week.
going over him.
this last week. See, and I have a
yeah,
head.
that's what we
I have
call
a head
in
over there,
French
but
clair obscur, light.
the sun is brighter. I'm dealing with SAD. Shut up.
What's SAD?
Stop picking on my disorders. Seasonal affective disorder. A lot of people in northern climates get that. Is where feeling
Because
a
of the
little
sun?
bit more down than winter than the normal people.
Because
But
of the sun.
like, I had coffee this morning, so nobody will get murdered today. It's all good.
Okay.
Why don't we go to the last? We got one
Yeah,
more.
we should probably go back to your curated list.
I'm really disappointed. Sue has stopped messaging at a frequency of one or two per minute. We got no content without Sue. Just miscellaneous stuff. So this is gonna be a little easy. The Trump administration position on Ukraine, they basically gave the middle finger to the globalists.
Yes.
And
CIA.
European Union is freaking out now because Great Britain said, "Oh, maybe we should postpone the negotiation until Ukraine is in a better position to negotiate." Trump called Putin, and they said, "Okay, when do we meet?" They were supposed to meet in Munich. No, they were supposed to meet in Turkey. Then after that, they were supposed to meet in Munich. And I said, "What? They're changing the place all the time. Maybe they're afraid for an assassination attempt." But Zelensky now is in a panic mode, and European Union leaders, they are in a panic mode because Trump does not listen to them. J.D. Vance was in Europe for an AI conference on security. And he said because Olaf Scholz said we will not permit the Russia to go back to the G7, and J.D. Vance says I will not negotiate with Olaf Scholz anyway. He doesn't have a long time to stay in power, so they don't care about European Union.
There was you guys keep talking. I'm going to try to find it.
Well, all of those comments that gentleman make are about NATO.
They're about NATO.
So that's all about NATO. So the question is, what is the fate of NATO if the North Atlantic Treaty Organization loses its primary partner?
Well, look at that. Okay, first of all, when you look at the returning to Ukraine pre-2014 border.
Oh shit! I did not see this. 5%. I didn't know that.
Oh no, that'll never happen.
This is not. Come on.
Because
this is,
Canada agreed to 2% of its GDP per annum and has never done it.
They have never done
Never.
it, and
Never done it.
And
So why not just agree to 5% and never do it?
Oh well, okay, let's get
yes,
on that.
that's.
I'll send you a memorandum of intent.
Accounting. They do that. You know, it is not
right.
real.
We agree to 5% and then write down 3% and say we did 2%.
It's when you owe money to the Canada Income Agency. I don't know, CRA. What do you call this? Revenue Agency.
Right.
You owe them money, and you say, okay, I will pay you every month. But they have what 21% interest rate.
So that's
Canada will keep
This is
sending money to Ukraine after a peace deal. They will use our money to pay back American loans to Ukraine.
she knows something that we don't know.
When did we co-sign an American loan?
You did not.
When we gave up our military.
We gave up our Woo. So what's that? When did we lose the Avro Arrow? That's how far back.
1951.
Right there. So there.
1951.
We lost our military when we gave up the Avro Arrow.
The Arrow.
When the government told Diefenbaker, we're going to be your daddy, so don't you go building no military.
Yes. So and that was a very extraordinary plane. I saw. That was incredible. It was incredible. 1951.
Let's jump in here. Let me read this to Tim, and then I got a question for you.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to this.
Yeah, I think you did. Carney is going to call an election in March, my opinion. He has momentum and a message of fear. The USA waiting means momentum would shift back. He's trying for a minority with deals already in place. I had a question for you, Tim, and I already forgot it, so go ahead.
It's okay. I'm going to deconstruct this, and maybe it'll be the answer to your question. Carney can only call for an election after March the 24th.
Because of prorogation.
In addition, he must actually be a member of parliament when that happens. In addition, he must actually be the prime minister when that happens. However, if all of those things are met, his momentum, yes, he does have momentum. The message of fear, the USA is, we talked about this over the last couple of days. I think Carney is the citizen of London's agent to stall Trumpism across the Canadian border in order to protect the British pound. And so we talked last night when we were preparing this about the equivalent of the Suez Canal. Right? So
Yes.
the Suez crisis. So I think that Trump's conversation about the mighty American dollar and what it appears to be on the surface, like he's going after BRICS, Russia and China, India, etc. But I think in actuality, the city of London or the British Empire is on its last gasp, and Trump is going after that. So I feel that Carney comes in as well. He has to be a member of parliament in order to force an election.
I think what she's trying to say is he's going to convince Jagmeet Singh to call an election.
So he's going to convince Jagmeet Singh. So, and then
to
what?
Bring down the government.
So then, where's he going to run as a candidate? Because once an election's called, he can't step in and be prime minister. He would have to run in an election.
No, he will have to run an election.
Right? So I'm thinking it's easier for him to be a member of parliament before he calls for an election, because while he's in parliament and ensures that Trudeau is no longer in the picture, because that's not a sure thing yet. Trudeau has the last few days been making signs that he might not actually intend to resign.
Well, he will resign as prime minister.
Right. And if then you have an empty seat for prime minister.
Like this, going around the world pretending to be a head of state.
Right. So
now he's bringing his resume for his next job.
Yeah.
Trudeau could be next ambassador of Canada and Europe.
Europe, that's one country. Europe.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And you mentioned the British pound, but look at the currency now. The American dollar and the euro are practically at pair. And 1 year ago, the euro was much more strong than it is today. So the idea that Carney would be the agent of London, it's not only, yes, I think I agree with you. It's about the pound, but it's most of all it's about the eurozone, because you have 600 million people in Europe, not counting the east part. Okay, forget about the east part, Russia. That you don't count that, but
yes,
they're not human anyway.
Right.
But you have 600 million with similar GDP, and you look at America, 400 million. with a GDP that is about the same, and it will be about energy. So they want to compete against the Eurozone. They want to weaken the Eurozone. Yeah. I have the feeling that he will try to, like you said, maybe have a minority government to be able to stall the rise of Trumpism.
Yeah. So and then I see a couple of scenarios. First, regarding who would win in a federal election. I still say what I said last year, and that is, or a couple of weeks ago, if a federal election is called in 2025, the Conservative Party of Canada will win a majority.
A majority.
Maybe not a super majority, as was predicted a month ago, but a majority.
The majority is what, 170, 177?
So we're at 343, is it?
343, so it is 170.
Right, and then there would be Canadian, but if Carney comes in as MP, as Prime Minister, and simply says, we don't want an election yet. We want to rebuild our numbers, and we want to push. Our job is not to worry about Canada. Our job is to push back against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Paul Revere is not interested in pushing back against Trump. He's interested in whatever other stuff he's doing, right? Because he doesn't have the tools to fight Trump. Carney does. Not Carney personally, but Carney,
the globalist.
London.
Well, if you call the globalist, but
right. So, but if he is able to make Canada think that it's becoming economically stable again and leave all the other stuff running underneath of it, and stalls an election until next year, then I think the Liberals will win a minority government. So time is of the essence. If the faster the Conservative Party gets to an election this year, the more likely they are to win the majority government.
But first of all, I agree with you. The Conservative will win a majority if the election is called this year.
Yes.
Then, if it is not called this year, and they can evoke the Emergency Act, and even Carney said it. He said we will try to force companies to comply to the 2030 UN agenda. Right. And if we have to call an Emergency Act, we will do it. So you can
Isn't that Romania?
What?
Isn't that Romania?
No, Carney.
No, yes, Canada, right? We're saying if we don't like the results of the election, we'll
cancel the election.
If we don't like the way corporations are running their business, we will tell them how to run it.
Exactly, and Ursula von der Leyen said the same thing about the election in Germany. If the Alternative for Deutschland wins, they will not win. But if they do 27%, and they start to push peace talk with between Russia and United States, forget about Ukraine. They're not even in the. But if it works, they say we will cancel the election. Yeah. So you can imagine Carney would arrive and would cancel the election, evoke the Emergency Act. He could govern for a couple of weeks, months, maybe, and like you say, create crisis. I'm
just going to put this up, Andre. You're talking about creating crisis. Here's how you could create it. This is Andrew Coyne again, my nemesis. Meanwhile, Canada is now alone on the continent we share with a madman.
Madman, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the madman is Trudeau.
Come on,
well, in this case, it's Trump.
I understand.
I'm still surprised they don't refer to Stalin, because Trump is Stalin and Musk is Hitler. We still need a Mussolini.
We don't have a Mussolini?
Who?
RFK Jr.?
I don't know. Keith Starmer in Great Britain. I don't know, but the idea is
Viktor Orban.
Yes, you're right, Victor. But the idea is there. They can create. We're already in deep shit. Already in it.
That's right, Jared.
So it is not very difficult to increase the pain, so people will live in fear. It worked during the pandemic. People were in fear. Why did they comply like this? It was.
So is our fear response now the recoil response? Recoil and shut our mouth because we're afraid of the violence of the Emergencies Act?
But I mean,
having been beaten once, you're very unlikely to do something to get beaten again, right?
Well, we saw what happened in Coutts with the trial. People were put in jail without
Yep.
without warrant.
Yeah.
You know, if you create this, you better be prepared for let's say violent conflict, interior conflict.
And Sue is correct. And my reference was unelected. And I
Now you go
understand
back to
that.
the book.
But the
Yes.
fact is
Yeah,
he
yeah.
needs to be prime minister in order to make an election happen. Elected or unelected, yes. But I understand that if he's
Appointed, yes, appointed.
appointed, and I get that.
Hold
And
on, hold on. I have one
Right.
job here, and I'm going to savor this. So let me read this. Unelected prime minister. If a prime minister is not elected but appointed, which can happen if the previous PM resigns or passes away, this individual would still assume all the powers of the office, including the ability to call an election under the conventions and laws mentioned above.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I
the prime
agree.
minister doesn't have
She's right.
unilateral authority to call an election, does he?
Well, he is.
Well, he goes to see the governor general.
According to the laws above, because there are 2 or 3 specific conditions that would make it an automatic, right? Like non-confidence, losing a budget, which is also non-confidence, et cetera, right? So those, but the
budget is coming in April,
right? So
in the new budget,
it's going to be
in March.
Again, though, I don't think there's any member of parliament that wants to go on the campaign trail in summertime. I just don't.
No,
I just don't. They're going to take their 2.5 months off, thank you very much, and do nothing. So they're either going to go, and I had said this earlier, they're either going to call an election April so that they're finished before June, or they'll wait till fall. Because scheduling's a problem. How do we schedule an election? Because it's not about when the people want it or when the media tells us that they think it's, because that's all fear mongering. And for us, we're not on the inside. We're trying to be educated, but we're not the ones making those decisions. So if there is an election this year, it'll either be April or late September. Unless the GG says no, and she said yes to everything else. So who knows? Right? Depends on how much money is in that envelope.
Let's go through this. If there's a non-confidence vote, that means a majority of the people in the parliament have non-confidence. That triggers an election.
You go and dissolve. You go and ask the governor general to dissolve the.
Okay. Can the governor general refuse to dissolve?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's never happened.
Yeah, a lot of
can the governor general ask another party to form an alliance coalition government?
Oh, that's an interesting thing. I wonder
because it happens in France.
The Privy Council.
Do we have the same structure, the same system?
Yes, but now you're getting involved. Now you're involving the crown. Right. And that's a whole different kettle of fish. Now you're involving the crown. So how would the public respond if the crown said, no, we are reforming parliament in this fashion? Wasn't that King Charles I's problem? Right? Was that with the 30 Years' War? That did not end well for the first Charles.
Well, why I refer to this is because what we see now, and I go back to the city of London, you can imagine somebody would say, okay, we will ask another party to form the government.
I look like a Rembrandt.
And a coalition government. Because we want Team Canada to work, to fight the man south of the border. They could play with that. Just to stall the election, just to stall the general election.
Andre, you've been a playwright. If you were a playwright, and you were the GG, how would you like to do it?
It depends on the, well, if you would refer to Shakespeare, it has to be at the last act. You know, in a tragedy, everything is decided in the first act, but you take 4 acts to drag it out. To drag it until the end, because people, they have to cry. It has to be painful. Yeah. So I would say 2026. And I would agree with you now at this point. Carney would say we will regain the momentum, because we have to unite
Yeah.
against the
Yeah.
madman
Yeah.
south of the border.
Yeah. So then, right. So then Carney allies with Singh again to maintain the coalition.
Then,
Pierre becomes nothing until something happens,
well,
or they replace him, or he gets back into position. So that means blue becomes deflated, and then depending on how far into 2026, if the economy balances, and all they have to do for that is use unemployment numbers, and we already know they can fudge those.
you know, the wild card in that, it is the 51st state, because many people now are thinking about either joining United States or transforming, and I think Payment, you mentioned that, transforming the constitutional monarchy into a republic, Canada, a republic of Canada.
It takes half a generation to do that.
No, I agree with you, but you can start somewhere. If the public opinion would be against a push back of the election in 2026, maybe they don't have a lot of leverage.
I think the high percentage of favorable response to the 51st state nonsense is pushed by social media. I think social media is a silo.
Yes.
And it is not actually representative of the population at large.
Let me give a counter to that. So usually you're right. Social media it's a silo.
Refer to rule number 1.
It's an echo chamber. You're right. Here's my theory. We tried to do everything legally possible to get Trudeau out.
Yeah.
Culminated with the trucker convoy where we went to him and we said we didn't agree to this. Either stop it or resign. And they brought in the military and martial law, and now he's punishing us through lawfare. And now the people that they're so beat down, they're so poor that they see that the only way out is through the US. And my final argument, the final comments, these people in power, they don't realize how fragile the country is. So when Andre is talking about a republic, yes, it's going to take 30 years to get there, but I think the spark's already been lit, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how much they destroy this country to keep their party in power.
So what was the transition for Caesar? First, they gave him, they gave him 1 year, was it? 1 year of, what was the right word? Not unlimited power, but Caesar for 1 year, wasn't it? They gave him 1 year. And then he willingly laid it down at the end of that year, and stuff already started going sideways. And then he went back and said, hey, you want me to do this again? They said, yeah, please. And I think he made it 10 years, and then there was civil war. Right. So he's going to election. Who's going to election?
You know the transition between the republic in Rome, the republic toward an empire, and now it would be the difference. We are in an authoritarian regime in Canada, governed by corporation and everything, and then we would try to go to a process where we would transform this into a republic. I agree with you, Payment. It will take 30 years or a generation, 20 years, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to do it. If we feel that we have to do it, even if it is very painful, maybe we have to go to this process, and maybe the new generation will say, wait, we want to have this. What's the benefit of having a republic? Look at the First Amendment of the American Constitution, freedom of speech. It's very, very hard to go around that. The Second Amendment is what?
Define freedom of speech in Caesar's empire. Because when Caesar took power, it was no longer a republic.
No, but it's because you were shifting from a republic to an empire. Now it's the opposite. It would be an authoritarian regime, and you want to transform it into a republic. It will be painful. It will be painful. Violence is, it is Marx who was saying violence is the midwife of a new civilization.
Right.
So it will be painful. You cannot win if you don't, no pain, no gain.
Wow. I don't.
Sorry, I think I will vote conservative because I'm good in slogan.
Yeah,
For the audience, if you want to buy this book, if you use promo code payment 6969, I get $1 back. So,
oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
On Amazon.ca. So
.ca.
you're not a good Canadian. You don't
Not a
boycott
good
American
Canadian.
product.
He's using, that's right. Boy, not boycotting
Yeah.
Amazon.
I don't know, is Indigo a Canadian company, or is that
Not
everything?
anymore. The Chapters/Indigo. So yeah, see, it's just the gut of me does not like this 51 state stuff.
I don't like it either, me. I don't like it either.
Saying we need a republic.
I don't
like it either.
And I don't think Canada needs a republic. I need to get the effing assholes that are on my neck off my neck. And we do that by unelecting the SOBs and putting in people with have some integrity.
Yeah, but Tim, what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. We're trying to get them out, but they're not leaving.
Not tried everything. We haven't
doubled
tried
down
everything.
now. They parachuted this City of London monster.
Can I ask you
But he's
something?
not in power yet.
Tim, can
Right?
I ask you?
The assumption is he's going to take the seat, but he has not yet taken the seat.
Okay, Tim, let's say that in March or April, like you said, we go in an election and the Conservative wins. You will be satisfied with that? With the fact that the Conservative would have a majority to do something different?
I prefer a soft liberal over a Marxist liberal.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
The answer is I will
relatively
take Godzilla over Cthulhu.
Why? You know why I say this?
However, and this is the Nietzschean thing of the whole, which I hate to even giving credit to, because of who I support and the work that I'm doing and what I truly believe in, right? So I know that that's what I want to do, right? Yes, and I can appreciate that the pressure is, well, see, Trump's not stupid. He forces his enemy into the open. He flushes them out.
Yes, that's
and that's good news. That's good news. But I don't want the enemy standing on the on the rooftop walls of my castle while America exacts its economic war. That's not what I want. And that's not what I want.
The liberal, what you say, okay, the Conservative are softer liberal. They will not have 1 year to turn this country around. You know that. They will have, what, 2, 3 months, 4 months. If they do not deliver something that is totally different from what we've seen in the last 15 years, they will stay in power, but because they have a majority.
I guess what I'm really saying is I have not yet stopped fighting for the system we already have. I am not willing to concede to a fantasy that relies on another country to intervene and turn the screws for us. I am in favor of me being responsible for my destiny, marking my X on the candidate I support, and fixing the fuck up that these SOBs made out of Canada. I need money for the square jar now, right? And I believe in the people that I believe in. And I believe the Canadian citizen is capable of doing this. They just need to stop paying attention to the pander wars and pick a side. And stick to the side.
You have to cancel Netflix.
Right. The rest is rhetoric.
But
I flatly reject this 51 state concept.
There's
If we end up swinging, if our structure swings more toward a republic style, it won't be in my lifetime.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. What I want to refer to is that we are in a historical geopolitical shift. Now, why I say this, the famous international law are falling. Payment, you mentioned it, that people are not respecting anymore the basis of international law or even national law. So it's like the Far West. Everything can happen. It is better if we would change our political system for the sake of Canada and Canadian to do it calmly and reasonably. But it is not the reality that we're seeing now. We are in, and I think we.
there's two good audience comments, but go ahead, Andre, finish your thought.
I will finish briefly. We are in emergency time or very hard time. My concern or my fear is that many politicians, they will use this and they will not understand the historical situation.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you, but we also have to take in consideration the hand that Trump is holding to us. Maybe he's helping us see the reality so we can act. I don't necessarily like the way he's doing it, but he's trying something because his administration is new.
So it just gives me freaking heartburn. Trump is giving Carney legs to fight on. Pull that up. And I get it. I agree. But Trump is not my champion.
He's not my champion either.
Across the GD border, effing south or outside, looking for our savior to come from outside. The man is not King Cyrus, right? He's not our savior. He's interested in America for Americans. And I'm interested in Canada for Canadians. And if Trump wants to go pick on and make Carney his boy because he wants to flush his enemy out in the open because he'd rather deal with the City of London on equal footing and have them all flushed, right? Have all the pieces facing each other on the international chessboard so he can have a proper fight as America. Fill your boots. Not my country.
Oh, but that's what
your fight somewhere else.
But that's what I'm trying to do, and I try to call to patriots to get up and to start fighting back. Yeah. And I hear no answer.
Yeah,
I hear you. I agree with you. But where are they, those great Canadians? It was good in 2021 or 2022 with the Freedom Convoy. But what was the beauty of the Freedom Convoy? And that's the problem of modern manifestation. It's always nice, always peaceful. We bring children. We are respectful. Yeah. You do not change system like this. It doesn't work. It never worked. You need strength, and that's the male prerogative. And I understand the frustration of many people because they say Canadian people are good people, they're kind people. Why do we don't see millions of people in the street of Ottawa now when you saw hundreds of thousands of people in Romania, in Georgia? Those people, they go out.
Yeah.
But the Freedom Convoy was good, but kind. Those people, they go there, they say, the first thing you do when you do a revolution or you want to change the system, you take the media, you take the CBC tower, you take the media and you broadcast your message, and then you take down the tyrant if it is a tyrant, or you force them, you tell them in the face, we do not trust you, you have to resign. If I have to tell you every day of the rest of my life, you have to resign. The last thing I would like to say is, when you talk to people, you talk to individual in the eyes. You ask them, not the mob, not the crowd, the individual. You say to the individual, are you ready to do this? You personally, madam, mister. Yeah. And if you do that, instead of talking to crowds or rally, you have to go toward people. And I don't see a lot of politicians who do this today because, like Payman said, they're pandering. They're pandering. They're talking.
Self-interest.
Yes, self-interest. If we can break that, I hope. I still hope.
I want to go to the comments that it's lighting up. So there's a couple of them. Bruce Party, this is Happy Capricorn. Bruce Party suggests becoming 51st state is better for Canada because the U.S. Constitution is stronger. It will take, as you mentioned, 30 years to correct.
Who's Bruce Party?
He's a blogger, but he's very famous.
Law professor from Queen's University.
Yeah,
he testified at the NCI.
I watched some of. He's very good.
Self-governed. I want to comment to that. No, he's not my savior, and absolutely, as a Caesar of a new corporatocracy, a new empire, he will indeed be the conqueror of all North America. Just consider Canada Gaul, right? And just consider Mexico Egypt.
Yes, and Tim, I hear you, because it's an emotional reaction, and I am emotional too, because the history of Canada is part of our DNA.
Yeah, this
It's
gets
part
me
of
almost
our.
as mad as pineapple on pizza.
We can be rational in a situation where you have an opponent in front of you who is rational, but when the opponent is not rational, you can hack strategically, but you have to be more wise than that. It's very. I refer to the strategy of war.
Guys, can we be? Let's take our emotions out of this. I'm just trying to look at this.
That's Iranian part of you that is talking. That's
I'm
good.
trying to look at it reasonably.
That's good. No, that's good.
We are in a very delicate situation. 9 years we've been our government has been insulting us.
Yes.
4 years, 5 years, our government has been enslaving us and imprisoning us and segregating us.
Yes.
And the people have lost faith in our government. So we're in a delicate situation. We're weakened. And then add to that, we have an external force that's coming in and wants to either probably not take us over, but further weaken us. We have no immune system. We have no way to defend ourselves. And the people, they've been completely demoralized or depressed.
If we hadn't taken the COVID vaccine, we'd have had a stronger immune system.
Yeah.
Well, I will refer again to Arnold Aino when he says that Canada did not have its Pearl Harbor moment. The Freedom Convoy was a reaction to an authoritarian decision. And then after that, it faded away because the government pushed back, stepped back. And now we are arriving at maybe the second phase of this situation. And we have to straighten up the message. It's not being aggressive to say to somebody, I don't like you. I don't like how you talk to people. I don't like how you act. So you change.
Yeah.
Albert Camus, in his book, The Insurrected Man, he says, to the tyrann, you tell him in the face, you step back, you look at him and you say, you stop, we can become friends. If you continue, I will fight until the death. And that's a very strong phrase from Camus. It says, you do not tolerate anymore any bullying. That's the message that we should tell them. Anybody, every time, and it's not, people will say, oh, it is aggressive. I will say, you don't know what is aggressivity is. Yeah. Difference between aggressivity, determination, and anger. We have to make those differences. If people are not ready for that, I can guarantee you, I'm ready. I'm ready. As a citizen, I am.
Sue is making the point I was trying to make. Not delicate, vulnerable, but very vulnerable.
And you're both correct. The problem is we've made ourselves vulnerable to the enemy within, and the opportunists at the door now have an unlocked door to come in. Right. So, the Americans say, like protect them from enemies without and within. Canada's enemies from within, who by our own largesse and our own bourgeois attitude permitted them to take positions of power and use against us, which has been amplified in the last 9 years and the last 4 years in particular. As a result of this, the enemies from without are circling to feed, and that includes the City of London and the United States of America.
Circling to feed, you could refer to the Indians who were turning around and trying, in the far west. What he's referring to is very interesting, and I go even more far than that. The feminist movement castrated men in Canada. The society is feminized. We are not in a matriarchal system, but they castrated us. They castrated our language. They castrated our determination. And now you have new generation who are afraid, and they try to hide into some ideology. They all pick up something they try to hide because they don't want to fight. But they are being, I would say, they are being tortured psychologically. So they will be depressed and they will not react. The best way to undermine somebody is to isolate him. What happened? 3 years we were isolated. They try to isolate us all the time. Even you see with X, since Musk bought back X, we can express ourselves. Facebook step back, and now is not censoring. We are.
They are.
But you know, we were castrated.
Yes. Yes.
We have. I'm sorry. We have to grow balls.
What we don't have is we don't have fathers going to principals in Soji schools throwing hands.
Yes. They're not there.
So our children, and by now we're talking about teenagers and early 20s, not 6 and 10, but late teenagers and early 20s who have grown up in a generation, not like some of us who had no father, but who did have a father who did nothing.
Nothing.
And allowed the system to physically abuse them.
Yes, and we see it, and it's, I think, where is the new generation that will arrive and will start to strengthen the message? The politically correct era is finished.
Yes, because Gen Z is not politically correct. They say what they think and they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care, but are they?
My youngest daughter is on the older end of Gen Z. She's 24, and she says what she thinks, and she doesn't care what anybody says.
That's a problem, because that's a problem, because if she says something, she speaks her mind, but without rationality. You need bold.
Well, and I appreciate that. What I'm saying is she's bold.
Yes,
she's bold, right? So, Sue here, primarily men who push radical feminism. Why is that?
Yes,
so that men didn't have competitors on the pyramid.
Which men?
No, I know what she's saying. And if I was at the top of the pyramid, and it's usually male-dominated structure, I'm okay with pushing feminism because it removes competitors.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
That's fine. I don't care. Right? Because if I'm at the top and I'm not committed to the if I'm not actually committed to the general population, I'm at the top of a business or an organization or a charity or a whatever, and I'm really only interested in my longevity, then radical feminism is the equivalent of fratricide.
Yes. And when she's referring to men, okay, it's the war of sex. No, it's not the war of sex. It's the war of minorities that are instrumentalized and controlled for political purpose. You saw it with the black people. You saw it with the women. You saw it. You saw it with the gay. They always instrumentalize a group as a political weapon. And they bring us against each other.
Yeah.
When I say they, you can say it is the globalist, or you can say it is the corporation, the lobby. They always try to push people against each other, whether men against women, boomer against Gen X or Gen Z. I see
51 pro 51 state against 51 state.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And instead of trying to identify the symptom and the core problem, they fight on the outcome instead of thinking about what are the root cause of the problem. Let's talk philosophy, not
but the Marxist who's behind all of this,
yes,
creates the revolutionary,
yes,
to cause the revolution, and then creates the counter-revolutionary to crush the revolution. and then the counter-revolutionary becomes the revolutionary.
Yes.
So all of these
Yes.
isms, feminism, right? The LGBTQ, the racial stuff,
All those groups.
all of these are revolutions and counter-revolutions. And what's the end? The end result is not to form some new stability.
No.
Because Marxists were complaining about Russia, saying, you've become too stable, you've become too conservative. And communist Russia going, wait a minute, we've killed like 30 million people by now, and you're still not happy?
You're not happy.
They're like, no, we are not happy because you've become stable. We want instability. So our enemy, be they, whoever lunatic liberals are out there pushing us around for the last 10 years, especially, their goal is endless revolution. So it's to me, it's not so much that I'm fighting to retain 10 provinces and three territories. It's not so much I'm doing that. I'm trying to forestall an international communist manifesto that's given a great big fat fuck you to freedom.
Swear jar.
There's
I'm like $1 now in the swear jar today, right?
Yes,
for 80 years, I don't consider Trump my enemy, not exactly my ally.
No.
I don't consider Carney as much of an enemy as others might think. My enemy is actually Paul Revere, who has the ability to do something right and won't, because he's waiting for his turn in the chair.
No, he doesn't have the ability. He have the opportunity, but the ability he doesn't have. That's the first.
I just wanted to make a statement. When Tim said something about a pyramid scheme, I completely drifted off into I was thinking about Cairo and the pyramids of Giza.
No, but you said something about instability, and I would say world communism if you want. You want to use it. No, but let me say something. Let me say something. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, and I quote, he said, markets don't like instability. You know what that means? That means because we create instability, we cannot do business. So we will bring back what? Control. And that's the purpose. Oligopole, multinational, they want to control the life. You can see it with AI, transhumanism. They want to control every aspect of our life. And you have some pushback, nationalist pushback with Trump. Maybe he's not, I would say, maybe he's not very elegant. He's a rogue businessman. He's an opportunist. He's narcissistic. We all know the person, the character or the personality of Trump, but he's acting in a way. And I think he's part of the system. The system has created those politicians. They all come from the same mold. Not very intelligent, very rogue, very charismatic, and they can talk to people. They can stall. They can look diplomatic. And it's difficult. You cannot arrive with somebody who will be very educated. Take the example, Michael Ignatieff was very educated, very cultivated. He didn't win because he cannot appeal to people. He could not. Look at Carney. He tries to, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I have the feeling that now they want to implement another level of control, and they're trying to, like you said, they're trying to create this instability.
In wrapping up the show, let me tell you, I went to the bank to wire money to the US. They wanted 22 signatures or initials from me. 22.
22?
We counted 22 times. I either had to sign a document or initial.
Which bank?
Bank of Montreal.
Oh, shit.
So one of the
previously you just sign in triplicate one document, but this is like it's this what do they call it, the crisis reaction response, what do they call it?
I don't know.
Like they create a crisis,
yes,
panic, and then the response to that is we need more money laundering, anti-money laundering.
I went to retrieve $2,500 US because my wife is going on a trip. What did you wire the $20 million? Maybe they ask a question. It
Right?
depends on the. If it is for peasants, they will try to control you
Yes.
all the time, and it is very funny. There's a man who said he was in France and he went to retrieve 10,000 euros, and at the bank it was I don't remember the name of the bank, and they started to ask him many questions, and he says, "Oh, it's for sexual
Exchange.
sex change, and I want to buy firearms." They look at him, they were freaking out. They call the manager. I will not tell you what I want. It's not your business.
Yeah.
So they want to control
Yeah.
ordinary people.
Yeah. When
That's
yeah.
that's nature.
Yeah, and the becoming more and more obvious that mechanism for control will be, it should make Sue happy, UBI.
UBI, exactly. Universal
It
Basic
will be,
Income.
and it'll be digital.
Yes, and you
Right.
do not comply. That's it.
Yeah, and it will be. Well, maybe
2
it won't
weeks
make her
ago-
happy, but she'll, right?
2 weeks ago, I did an interview with a French intellectual, and she was talking about China, about social credit, and she said Chinese people, they adapted to that.
Yes.
And honestly, I disagreed for one reason, because if you have a good moral code, you don't need laws. You will respect your neighbor, and you will expect your neighbor to respect you. You will respect his sovereignty, his property. You will respect his idea, his religion. If you don't have that, if you don't have faith, also look at China.
Yeah.
They will have to implement government control. That's what they did in China.
Culture is an uncodified law.
Yes. And why?
Right.
Why in the
When I go into
Western world?
someone's home, I take off my hat. I don't need a law.
Why do we see this only in the Western world?
Well, because we've become secular. We've lost respect for the intangible.
And we
Right, what was the question? What do we
I
only
was saying
see?
something about pyramids. Don't worry about it.
My question was why we are seeing this only in the Western world. You don't see this in Islamic country.
No,
you don't see this.
No, because the unwritten behavior of the culture establishes the parameters. Right?
Yes.
These are the boundaries of good relationship, or what we call, or I should say acceptable. Then we avoid the good bad problem, right? What each culture has acceptable behavior, right? And yes, in the Western culture, and by Western I mean like first world nations,
Yes,
right? Us Euros mostly, right? Is we've in our the end result of not the Reformation. What was after why do I keep forgetting the word? Reformation, not the Reform. The intellectuals. What's that era called? That
intelligentsia.
That's I'm gonna miss the word, and it's really super simple.
Renaissance?
No, it's after the Renaissance. It's the Hume era.
Enlightenment.
Thank you. I keep thinking it's an I, but it's an E. It's probably because I'm like Newfie, and anything with the E gets pronounced like an I. The Enlightenment. So we've taken the Enlightenment to its extreme, right? And by taking it to its extreme, we've stripped it of its spirituality of man. We've stripped it of the need to respect the intangible elements of culture and society, and everything is measured and based and fed on its tangible elements only.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And having lost that, we require unending laws in order to draw and redraw our boundaries of good and bad behavior, because every 10 years that changes, because we either shift closer to the edge of cannibalism or we shift closer to the edge of transhumanism. And so somebody in power is always trying to keep us from going off the edge, or as in recent years,
or pushing
push us through the edge.
Yes.
And so the human spirit within us resists chaos.
We seek harmony.
Right.
We
I mean,
seek
yes, sure,
harmony.
the heart of man is sinful. I am self-centered, but I do resist chaos because chaos will also damage me,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Um,
that's I would say that's a good conclusion in the sense that I think there was a comment, we lost morality and integrity.
yes, yes,
Everybody, each and every one of us,
Yeah.
in a sense that we have to ask ourselves first the question. Then after that, we can share our experience with somebody else or our thoughts.
Yeah.
If we do not ask ourselves, am I a moral person? I have to ask myself that question and answer honestly, yes, no, why I am or why I'm not.
Yeah. It doesn't have whatever structure is chosen to be, a governing structure does not have to be a theocracy, but it has to acknowledge, the value of the individual.
Mm.
One of the things that I was taught when I learned up is to defend the dignity of another, defend the dignity of my fellows. I don't have to like them, but I have to defend the dignity of my fellows. Yes, theocracies also tend to build laws to protect itself, like a union. Union usefulness was lost the moment the union was more interested in maintaining its self-preservation rather than representing its members.
Well, look at Soviet Union and look at the European Union. Today, I was asking myself, what were the symptoms or the events that made the Soviet Union collapse? From the inside, it was already corrupted since 1970. And it was corrupted because the structure of the system was trying, like you said, was trying to preserve itself on the expense of its own citizen. Yeah. Look at what's happening with the European Union now. Yeah. The backlash that you see now you see it Slovakia, you see in Romania. They're all part of the European Union. You see Hungary. They all go back. Germany, the big fall will be either Germany, Italy, or France, because those are the three founding countries of the European Union, the center. You referred to Napoleon yesterday when we were preparing the show. Yeah. And Napoleon wanted to have a unified Europe. But the idea now, it is not a unified Europe, what we see. It is 29 states that are vassal of a heavy bureaucracy in Brussels.
Of a bureaucratic hegemony.
Yes. And who is behind that? That's another question. Maybe great corporation, great families.
The opposite of a theocracy is freedom. I don't know. You guys want to comment on that?
Well, you can. My conception of freedom, I take it from Hannah Arendt. She says we are free in a structure. Our institution permits us to be free. If we have strong institution, they will respect our individual freedom. They will permit us to be free and to also fulfill our duty. You cannot have. Maybe that's the difference between libertarianism, where people say, "Okay, I'm totally free." I don't think it exists really a total freedom.
The pure libertarian is I forgot the word again. Begins with an A. Anarchist.
Anarchist.
Pure libertarian is an anarchist, and anarchy doesn't last.
Anarchy doesn't last because you need, like you said, Tim, you need order.
Yeah.
And we are against chaos.
You need order.
We're against chaos.
Yeah.
The world is chaos.
We're pushing 2 hours, 20 minutes here.
Yeah. Well, let's ask chat if they want us to keep going.
That's a good
we still have material that you had on the list that we've gotten away from.
I'm mostly done. I can bring it up. Brain fog.
But gentlemen, that's the kind of conversation I like. We can fight and debate, not be afraid to speak, and to.
Yeah, I mean, like the only other things that are left. The U.S. Army has said no more transgendered people allowed Now, I don't know if that's the entire armed forces or just the U.S. Army.
So does that mean that transgendered people in the American military are going to claim asylum and join the Canadian military?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
We got free tampons for them.
That's
Yes, permit freedom's an oxymoron. Absolutely.
I mean,
Let's
you're
hear
joking,
next tab.
Tim. You're joking, but they're trying to extend sanctuary cities to also be transgender sanctuary cities.
Oh, this is how the Liberals would absolutely win in a landslide. Is they offer to make Canada a transgender 51st state, sanctuary state. There you go. People.
Are you sure, Tim,
that the 51st transgender sanctuary state?
Are you sure that Canadians will accept that?
Well, I feel like that the meme with the wrestler sticks his head through. Are you sure about that? I don't know.
No, but you talk about something that we talk about moral and integrity. And Mark Carney this week, when he said we don't have a fentanyl crisis, we have a fentanyl challenge. And I was listening to him, and I say, how easy he can transform the misery of people who are completely addicted to a poison into something that is a challenge. What Klaus Schwab said, he said the pandemic is an extraordinary opportunity.
Right.
How many millions died because of those injection and side effects?
More, maybe
17 million.
17.
Estimated 17. Estimated. Underestimated 10%. That would be 170 million.
The funniest insult I ever heard about Klaus Schwab. This guy described him as an evil Teutonic genius hell-bent on taking over the world, masquerading as an evil Teutonic genius hell-bent on taking over the world.
Which Bullwinkle, Rocky and Bullwinkle, the villain from Rocky and Bullwinkle, little small guy.
It was who? Dan.
Mustache, right? It's very much the mustachioed villain from the 50s, the film noir. He harkens back to that era, right? Schwab.
I don't get this. If this keeps going, there are going to be passport swaps. What's
That's good.
Well, you know the last.
Did you say swabs or swaps?
Swabs. The last reference
to swabbing your passport.
The last reference.
No, I think she means
to Klaus Schwab's is Peter Sellers. How the film
Peter
the movie of Kubrick. How I ended up loving the bomb.
Loving the bomb.
Sue, I don't know what you mean by passport swap. Happy man, I can't read. Happy Capricorn says, Timothy Andre, please follow Bruce Party after you finish this X Spaces.
Very good.
Good.
Is this an X Space?
Yes. He has an X Space.
We're distributing this on X.
Yeah, YouTube. Two of us are on YouTube.
I'm so technically unaware.
I mean, I posted it on Facebook, YouTube.
Man, I hate this. Like Andre, he brings his first guest on his podcast, has like 10 times the viewers of all my podcasts combined. Arnold Ano puts out a post like 350,000.
No, but payment.
Here we are struggling.
I told you, I'm a nobody. Michael Jones has hundreds of thousands of followers. So it was just beginner's luck.
Little comfort. It's very little comfort.
But see, all the great stories start with a little bit of beginner's luck.
Well, you can now you can refer to the Gambler of Dostoevsky.
Yeah. Well, but I'm thinking more of like James and the Giant Peach type of stuff, right? So, right, it's just luck is like getting conned into giving up for a little bag of beans and exchanging your cow, and finding out that the bag of beans actually is the magic beanstalk.
That's an Irish fairy tale.
You picking on the Irish again?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
that's my. Don't forget that you had in 1837 you had 4 Irish patriots who were hanged in Quebec. Don't forget that. I will never
Oh,
forget
is that a not so subtle warning? We did it
No.
once. We can do it again.
No, it's an alliance. It's
an
not the
alliance.
same. It's an island. It's not.
Yeah.
Doing it again. An insurrection or being hanged.
Right. Well, I'm at this point in time, I think they're both.
Yes, but that's why when I say we have to strengthen up the message, we have to be more male,
masculine,
even for women, but without the surgery. Please, women, without the surgery. You can have a Kalashnikov if you want. You can have a AK-47. You can, but please, no surgery.
Really quick, thank you to Sue. Thanks, Sue, for promoting us.
Yeah,
that's all. Go ahead.
I'll thank her when I see the Benjamins. Oh wait, that's American money. Shit.
You got called out, man. You got to join the U.S. now.
But that's a Freudian slip. Oh, we will have fun with you, Mr. Knight.
I've joked with some of my friends that the way things are going, I fully expect to be beaten into death in a Canadian dark prison by Muslim guards as a political prisoner.
Transgender Muslim guards.
So, yeah.
Damn. I thought I was a good writer.
You thought you were a good writer?
No. I thought I was. I was. After hearing that, I thought I was.
Yeah, I was raised a devout Irish Catholic in Newfoundland, so I think I can work with this. Yeah, if it needs to be dark, I can find it.
It's the best place when you're in the dark. You see the light. There's a novel.
Now you're going to talk about Carl Jung.
No, by Jung. No, but there's a novel I read a couple of months ago. It was by Guy Thorne. He was a British journalist. It was written in 1904. And the novel is about a conspiracy between a Jewish millionaire and a priest, and an archaeologist, and they wanted to pretend that they found the grave of the Christ, and they pretend that the grave of the Christ, the body was removed by his disciple. He did not rose from the dead. And everybody was applauding in Great Britain for the progress. And after that, all the societies started to collapse. This is an extraordinary novel. It shows how you can manipulate an ideology for political purpose. Yeah. So it's very easy to find it. It was a bestseller at the time. That is an extraordinary book. And I ended up reading this book because I had a reference from another writer, and he just mentioned that. I said, I don't know this writer. I'm not very skilled in educated in British literature, except for great classic like Shakespeare. But this one was striking because you have the decadence of moral, you have the greed, you have the political agenda, you have love. You have two feminists. They are completely. This is. If people want to have a lot of fun reading something, it is a very great novel. It was written 107 years ago, 120 years ago.
It's interesting, how the writers from 100, 120, 150 years ago are cropping back into our discussion.
Yes.
Right. It's an example would be the Smith Wigglesworth, who was an evangelical traveling preacher in the late 1800s with his big tent events and whatnot. Back then, he was making complaints about the moral condition of men 120 years ago.
Which is a constant.
Right. And G.K. Chesterton writes similar things in his editorials, how far we have fallen, that what has happened to our men today.
Happy Capricorn says, what is the book? Sorry, I dropped out. Don't worry, buddy. I dropped out too.
So he dropped out when we started talking about pyramids.
You know what? I've been looking for, I did a trip to Egypt. I've been looking for the pyramid picture of me in front of the pyramid. Can't find it.
Can't find
But anyway,
can't find the pyramid.
Can't find the picture.
Well, if you took if you like Justin Trudeau and you took a selfie, you just see your face.
Right.
That's it.
If you stand in front of the Sphinx in such a way that you can take a selfie where you are the face of the Sphinx.
The nose, yeah.
Right.
Happy Capricorn is referring to the book of Tim.
No,
what was
the book that you were referring to, Andre.
Okay, the title is it's from Guy Thorne. Oh wait, I forgot the title now.
Guythorne.
Thorne. Guy Thorne. When it was dark. The title is When It Was Dark. You can find it even on, you can find it online with PDF file. It's not subject to copyright anymore because it's after 100 years.
It's a good name. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So Guy Thorne is his pen name, which
Yes.
is good because his full name is massive. Cyril Arthur Edward Ranger Gull, which means he was actually an aristocrat to have that many names.
I think so. It's been a couple of weeks, months that I read this book, and I referred to him in one of my essays because it's incredible.
Yeah, he's either an aristocrat or Irish, because like half of my Irish family, they're like three middle names, and they're all just variations on the Michael, Patrick, right? It's just variations of backwards.
You know, it's Henri David Thoreau who said, he said, "Hurry up to read the greatest writer, because you will not have the time to read them all." And why sometimes I refer to books like this is it's when something strikes me in a book, it is something that changed my perception of reality. That's why I say literature is so important.
This is how at a local level we save our children. We make them literate.
Yes,
and not just because I tell people you can read and write and still be illiterate. Just look at the internet.
Yes,
take our children and make them literate.
You have your
great works are key.
Yeah, reading is useful, but it's not enough. Reading a great novel opens your mind to imagination. You can talk about Thomas Mann, you can talk about Dostoevsky, you can talk about Tolstoy, you can talk about Travel with Charlie from John Steinbeck, when he goes to United States with his dog, which is sick, and it is a 500 pages of journey when he discovers United States, and he's shocked. When you open your mind with those great writers, you change perception. Your perception of reality changed completely.
See how the sun's setting on the west now?
Ah, yes, it's going around.
It's my light because the
that's
sun's
heliocentrism.
Yeah. So you mentioned not only writing to be able to read and write, but to unlock the imagination.
Yes.
It is in unlocking the imagination that a child realizes they can be free.
Yes.
Right. So the example, the picture that came into my mind when you were saying that was of the baby elephant chained with a great big massive 2-inch ship's chain, and it fights and struggles against the chain until it finally gives up. And as the elephant grows, the chain eventually just becomes a string. So you have a full-grown elephant with a 2-foot string hanging off one of its ankles, and it doesn't run away, and it doesn't fight, and it doesn't murder its master. But reading breaks that.
Well, that's why when we talk about AI, sometimes I think AI is a wrong expression. Artificial intelligence and payment. When we had this discussion about neuroscience, was referring to what is intelligence, and the intelligence of man imagination is part of our intelligence. So a machine would always outperform us in mathematics, but I would say intelligence of the heart, intelligence of the soul, that's with the emotional part of mankind.
Machines add, modify, or delete. The only thing a computer can do is add, modify, or delete. Machines perform repetitious, right? Machines perform repetitious action, but the human being creates.
That sounds like a conservative slogan.
Right?
3 words.
We promise we will add, multiply, and delete.
How do you say that?
Add, modify, delete.
Add, modify, delete.
Yeah. You know.
AMD.
Yes. Innovation.
Because I was referring to
AMD. I know. I was thinking of AMD as well.
Weapons of mass
daydreaming
destruction.
there again. You mentioned computers. You woke me up. You caught my interest again.
So
that's good.
If we want payment and just to nod off somewhere, we'll start talking about pyramids again and stuff.
We are tonight. We are drifting, not grifting.
Not grifting. There's no grift. No Benjamins. Oh, wait a minute. Damn. I keep giving in to the Benjamins.
I'm starting to be good in English because of you, gentlemen, because I have to practice a lot.
Well, it's good.
Yes,
guys,
it's good.
Look who's in the house. It's our favorite audience.
Oh, Wolfie.
Yeah.
Is he saying anything profound?
Human ears.
Sue.
Yes.
Yes, Sue. Write, paint, compose, sing, dance, play a musical instrument, play with putty, carve something, sculpt something, cut something, make a stick house. Just create with all the possible tools that we can give them. Because this is how we built civilization. Maybe one of the reasons why our civilization is crumbling is because we have no more creators.
We were talking about freedom, and my feeling about freedom would be when you're born until you start to be a teenager, because hormone kicks in. When you're young, from 0 till 8, 9, depending, 10, you're free. You go to school, you learn, but you're free. You don't have a lot of responsibility. I had a friend who was telling me, you give the responsibility to a child, the same responsibility of his height.
Oh,
the more he grows, the more he grows, the more he has responsibility. And one day it becomes a duty. So this freedom for children, we have to protect this freedom to help them, like you said, Tim, develop themselves, create, flourish.
Yeah.
If we don't do that, we're guilty.
Yeah. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
Yeah. Plot.
Woof, man. What happened? Usually you write entire paragraphs. It takes up the whole screen.
Plot. I think that's his cat typing now.
Wolf is the one who suggested me the name for my cat. Meow the Sad.
So we got about 20 minutes left. So let's get back to the payment.
Who told you we have 20 minutes left? We're like an hour over.
Well, you know what we say. Time flies when we're in good company.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, then let's say 3 minutes, then stitch it up.
Sure.
He's a surgeon.
Right? Well, doctor, close enough.
Sorry, I forgot my phone inside.
That's right. That's what's the Rolex between friends? Yeah. Please call my phone. I forgot my phone.
That was a pretty good episode. We covered a lot.
So you will wrap it up, payment?
Sure, I'll try to wrap it up this time. I'm not really one much for speeches.
You go ahead. We will listen.
We won't even interrupt you.
You sons of bitches. I don't know. Everybody have a good time all the time. Always eat the tequila worm. That's my sign off.
That's it?
Well, you kept interrupting. No. I think there's definitely an election on the horizon. It seems like everyone's panicking. I see a shift in society. Tomorrow I'm doing a meet and greet to meet with people, and I'm not shy about the fact that I'm not running for one of the establishment parties. But there is an appetite in Canada for change. Either people want drastic change to return Canada back to the rule of law, or they're leaving the country. They're packing up their business and leaving it. In both cases, it's a drastic change. But I think it's the growing pains we need, and the country will eventually be better off for it in the end.
Good. And I honestly, I agree with you, because I think we all crave for change. But let's do it. It's not like Tim said, let's not somebody else come and do the change for us. We have to. And you do it. You do it with your podcast. You do it all the time. So Tim does it in his way. I do it in my way. We want to change. We want to change the system, but we cannot do it alone.
Yeah. In quick summary, the three of us have been talking about you people in the comments section, and how much we view you as the fourth person at the microphone. So we appreciate your feedback, especially anything about pyramids. So, yeah.
I'm telling you, man, they're so cool. They got 4 sides. It gets that pointy, tippy part, and
the tippy part, the part that used to. Anyway, see, I'm going to start talking about pyramids again. That's not what I want to do. So we want people to look at things from a different perspective, not to be, and we know that you who participate already do that. So we want you to know that there are other lunatics like us who think the way you think. So let's think about it and talk about these things together. Do what we can locally, and just don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Gandalf is just coming over the horizon. I can hear the horses now.
oh god, not the ziggurats. Now I'm thinking about something else entirely. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, join us next week. We'll try to break the 3-hour barrier, and every week thereafter we'll add an extra hour.
Yeah, we are straight up an hour and 15 over.
Yeah.
Damn, that was long.
It was good. I blame our fourth guest.
But next time, what we could do is, if it is 3 hours, we have 1 hour each, and if we go over that 1 hour, the mic is mute.
Well, then we
and
need
an
egg timer, like a visible egg timer of some type. We'll do this like Robert's Rules of Order, right? You all get 2 minutes at a time.
Yes.
A bureaucratic nightmare.
Yeah. This is good. Thank you for joining us. We enjoyed this.
It was a pleasure having those comments from people.
Yeah.
Great comments.
Gentlemen, and thanks to the audience. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Good night.